It is technically now time. We are still waiting on one more member of the commission, so we're going to wait just 5 more minutes. It's customary that we wait. If by 6:05 they're not here, we'll just get started then. Thank you so much. All right, this meeting is called to order. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first City Commission meeting of 2025. Happy New Year. Today is January 7th, 2025, Tuesday, and the time is now 6:03 p.m. Before we begin, I just want to remind everyone of our rules of civility and decorum. First and foremost, hate speech, personal attacks, insults are strictly prohibited. Public comments must be directed to the chair, which is me, and not to any particular individual on the dais or in the audience. As always, public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. After we complete those in the chambers, we'll go to those online. Should you violate these rules, you may be asked to leave these chambers, so please govern yourselves accordingly. All right, our invocation for this evening will be led by Commissioner Woodrow Hay, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Mayor Kelly. Let's begin first with the roll call. City Clerk, if you could please begin, then we'll proceed to the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Mayor Penserga.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Commissioner Cruz.
Here.
Commissioner Hay.
Here.
Commissioner Turkin.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Maylee. We're going to move on to the invocation. Let's all stand for the invocation, followed by the pledge. Commissioner Hay.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening with grateful hearts as we open this first commission meeting of the new year 2025. Lord, we thank you for bringing us into a new season that's filled with opportunities to serve our community. And we ask for your wisdom, guidance, and unity as we work together for the good of Boynton Beach. Father, tonight, we especially want to lift up and celebrate the amazing achievements of our children. We give you thanks for the young athletes in our city who have excelled in Little League football, and for the cheerleaders who have brought joy, energy, and championships, victories to our community. Their hard work, discipline, and teamwork inspire us all. Lord, may they continue to grow, not only in their talents, but also in character, strength, and purpose. We also pray for their families, coaches, and mentors who pour so much into guiding and encouraging them. Bless, Lord, their talents and abilities. Help them to continue in their progress here in Boynton Beach. Help us as city leaders to make decisions that will reflect your justice, compassion, and love for all. May we seek to honor and uplift every member of our community, from our youngest champions to our wisest elders. Bless our meeting tonight, Father, and everything that we do be done for your glory and the betterment of this great city of Boynton Beach. We ask it all in the name of Jesus, we pray. Let every heart say, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Hay and Vice Mayor Kelly. We're now going to move on to agenda approval. Let me begin on my right this time if there's any requests for additions, deletions, or corrections. Commissioner Cruz, if you have any requests.
Yes, Mayor, I just need a moment. I
Not a
did want
problem.
to table a couple of items. Can you come back around for me?
Yes, absolutely. Vice Mayor, let's proceed to you.
No, Mayor, I do not have anything.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hay, did you have any request?
No, I don't have any.
Thank you. And Commissioner Turkin, did you have any request?
I think staff asked the table, was it 10D? What was it that you guys wanted to table?
I received a request
You
from
got it, okay.
staff, item 10B and D. That was the request I received.
Okay, and then, nope, we're good to go, thanks.
All right, so what I'll do now is I'll entertain, we could wait later. We could just do it now.
We have to go back to
For the
Commissioner.
table. Yes.
Okay, yes.
Go ahead,
Mayor,
Commissioner Cruz.
Items 10B, C, I'm sorry, B, D, and F.
B, D, and F. So in addition to the other two items previously mentioned, we're going to add F to that.
No, I think we should discuss F, because we didn't discuss it at the last meeting.
Do
That
we
was-
have people here? So the reason why I tried to get in touch with a couple of the residents who had the concerns originally, and I didn't get a response, so I was waiting to hear back their feedback before moving forward with a decision.
So, yeah, I also talked to some residents as well, and I got phone calls that they don't want those fees changed. I believe they're changed. So my suggestion is, can we just maintain what we have now and then allow, us as commissioners to get that feedback before making those changes? Because the feedback I got is we don't want to see any changes. I know that staff has some alternatives that may be more cost-effective, but I just don't want to have a sudden change and nobody's here to see that we're having this discussion and then they think they weren't heard at the last commission meeting.
So what I'm hearing is that you guys would like more time to reach out to your respective constituents to make sure everyone is aware. Is that what I'm hearing?
And for staff not to implement those new rates until we have that conversation.
Right. There should be no changes until this body makes any decisions. That's
Well,
my understanding.
there's already changes in rates
As of December.
because we're in the new
This
year.
this was actually a proposal to roll back the increased rates with the pickleball increases. And what we discussed at Thursday night's agenda review was there was an annual pass that actually alleviated some of the cost increases for the seniors. I know that was the individuals that were reaching out. We're fine either way. If we want to go forward with a discussion tonight, that's completely fine. I know I know Commissioner Cruz didn't have time to hear from her constituents. Either way, staff is prepared to speak on it.
Yeah, I want to allow that time, but in the meantime, I don't want us to implement those rates. So if we need to do something, some course of action
Like halt
today,
changes.
let's roll that back and then allow the time necessary for each commissioner to have those discussions with their constituency.
I don't know if we can roll those back, being that they've already been implemented and voted on by this body. I don't think would we have, I mean, I guess I'll refer to the city attorney. Would we have that authority as staff to put like a moratorium or stop on that?
I think if the body is directing us to do that, we can do that.
Okay.
And if we get a consensus from the body that we want to wait, we
Okay.
can't vote on it, but if we get a consensus to hold off for now, then we can certainly do that.
Is that going to be inclusive of Denson Pool as well?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Will we have that? Okay,
So we're putting a hold, a stay on implementation of those previous changes, and then we'll come back to have this further discussion if there's any further changes that need to be made.
And we're talking about just the pickleball rates and pool, correct?
That's my
Yes,
understanding.
that's correct.
Yes.
And we're talking about the next meeting. Commissioner,
Well,
Yeah.
staff, do you think by next meeting, you would be ready for a continued discussion on this item, or do you need 2 meetings? By next meeting? Okay, so we have direction to staff on the stay on implementation. So regarding those 3 items, let's make a motion to table items 10B, D, and F.
So moved?
Second.
Wait, let's be clear to the next meeting. All right, all 3 items, staff, you're comfortable addressing all 3 items next meeting, all right? All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Cruz and a second from Commissioner Turkin. All those in favor of tabling those 3 items to the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. Since there were, and Commissioner Cruz, were there any other requests on your end? Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
No, Mayor, thank you.
All right, with that, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second?
We have a motion from Commissioner Turkin and a second from whoever said it first, Commissioner
Okay,
Cruz. All right, all those in favor to accept the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we've got an agenda. Let's continue on. Section 2, informational items by members of the City Commission. To my left this time, Commissioner Turkin, if you have any informational items.
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Hay.
yeah, I would like to say that First Friday was great again, but I think everybody was celebrating the holidays, so the crowd wasn't as large as normal, but it was still great. So just don't be discouraged. Just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to just wish everyone a Happy New Year, but also I wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to Maylee in particular, but also to all of city staff. A couple of years ago, I mentioned to staff if we could do a food drive and baskets with the emphasis on helping the families in our city. And Maylee took charge of that, and she has, the first year we did 85 baskets. It's 85 families in our city that we gave an entire dinner to. This year we did 205 families, and this is all as a contribution from the commission, giving funds, but also our city staff donating food items and time and energy, and Maylee shopping, and some of our local business partners donating turkeys and food. And so I just wanted to give a big shout out to Maylee and to city staff for really taking hold of that little project that I thought was so important then. And I know she mentioned to me today that they, in addition to the baskets, they had a couple of families that are living in hotels, and so we provided hot catered meals to those families so that they also could have a Christmas dinner. So I just thank you to staff. And also, out of that, stemmed a new little project where we took all of the extra food that we could not use for the baskets, and they created a food bank at the police department. It's housed at the police department, so if there's anyone in our community, or you know of anyone, or if city staff encounters a family in need, we do have that available if you want to donate. I'm sure that the police department lobby would be happy to accept any donations to add to that food bank. So, you know, our city staff is generous and amazing in what they do for this community. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and I want to thank you and recognize you for taking the lead on this project. It's done wonders, and thank you, Maylee, and to everyone who's been involved in that. Let's turn now to Commissioner Cruz.
I'll go ahead and piggyback. Thank you, Vice Mayor Kelly, for that, and I did want to thank Maylee as well for everything you stated. I know that there were a couple families in my district that were definitely blessed for the holidays, so I do appreciate that. With regard to any disclosures, I only needed to say that I did receive, as a follow-up from the last commission meeting, a traffic study regarding items 8A, B, and C. And thank you to all of our city employees and first responders, especially for working during the holidays.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz. Let's move on now to the next section, which is announcements, community, and special events and presentation. We have one item. It is a proclamation recognizing the Boynton Bulldogs football and cheerleading teams for their 7U, 12U, and 13U football teams for reaching the Super Bowl, and the 13U team for winning the Super Bowl, and the 10U Boynton Bulldogs cheerleaders for winning the grand championship. So we're going to make it official in our city's history. Let me read the proclamation into the record, after which I will come down to present it to you. And if the coaches and the moms and the parents want to speak and say a few words about your experience, we would love that. And then we'll all come down. I'm going to invite my colleagues to take a group photo with the entire team. The proclamation reads as follows: whereas the Boynton Bulldogs 7U, 12U, and 13U football teams have demonstrated athleticism, discipline, and determination throughout the season, earning the honor of competing in the Super Bowl. And whereas the Boynton Bulldogs 13U team, through their commitment and outstanding performance, emerged victorious as Super Bowl champions, bringing pride and joy to the Boynton Beach community. And whereas the Boynton Bulldogs 10U cheerleading team, through their commitment and outstanding performance, emerged victorious as grand champions, bringing pride and joy to the Boynton Beach community. And whereas the coaches, parents, and supporters of the Boynton Bulldogs football and cheerleading teams have played an instrumental role in fostering a positive environment that promotes the growth and success of these young athletes, showcasing the benefits of a dedication, perseverance, and hard work. And now, therefore, I, Ty Pensurga, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby recognize and honor the remarkable accomplishments of the Boynton Bulldogs 7U, 12U, and 13U youth football teams and 10U cheerleading team, and congratulate the 13U team on their Super Bowl victory and the 10U cheerleading team winning the grand championship. Thank you so much. Let's give them another round of applause. Is there somebody from the team that would like to accept the proclamation? Let me come down. And again, if you want to say a few words, we would absolutely love that, after which we will take a group photo.
Come on, Coach. Don't be bashful.
I know, right? Not it.
Hello, how you guys doing? First and foremost, Commissioner Hay, we want to thank you for your efforts in making sure we have another great season. Definitely see you at a few games. We appreciate it. Also, to the city, thank you for blessing us with the best facility in the league. It's a place that everybody like. We think is beautiful. Also, we want to our parents, definitely our parents, for being diligent and dealing with some of the coaches' stuff to make sure their kids are there, and just taking pride in our program. So we definitely thank you guys. We appreciate you guys. Also, to our board and the people that work behind the scenes that don't get all the recognition for some of the good stuff we do, we definitely appreciate you guys. And we just want to say thank you to the city, and looking forward to another great season. Thank you.
Can you state your name, please?
Pernell Davis.
Very good.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, get everybody. Get them all in there. Showtime. Wrong. Wrong. All right, all right.
What's going on, man? Congratulations. Everything good? That's right. Athleticism. Athleticism.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Hay?
let me just say this before they all get out the door. What you just saw there is a lot of talent. Because what other city can say that they have two Heisman Trophy winners from their city?
That is right.
Okay? And with Lamar Jackson and Travis Hunter, I don't know if any other city can say that. And so I'm challenging our city. I don't know what that answer is, but we need to do something to market that, to show that off, to stick our chests out, whatever it takes. We need to do something to acknowledge that the little city of Boynton Beach has two Heisman Trophy winners. Those kids that you saw lined up down there just then, one of them could be your next Heisman Trophy winner. The Heisman Trophy winner is the best dadgum player, okay, among all the colleges in the USA, okay? And we have two of them right here in Boynton Beach. And it comes from the hard work and the dedication of these coaches and their parents, okay? And this community contributed to the financial support of this team. So let us not forget what has been achieved here. Just like the Little Leagues, the East, what are their name?
East Boynton
East
Little
Boynton
League.
Beach baseball team.
Yeah.
We need to do something when we win these big events, because it's not small potatoes here, okay? So I just needed to say that for the record. I don't know what we can do, but we got some great minds up here. I'm sure we can come up with something. Thank you.
Absolutely, Commissioner Hay, absolutely. All right, thank you so much, everybody. We're going to move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is public audience. As always, each person has 3 minutes. After we conclude with those in the chambers, we'll go to those online. Please address your comments to me, the chair of the meeting, and not to any particular individual on the dais or in the audience. And as always, state your name for the record when you begin. And let me switch to the timer. Okay, so we've got 2 podiums, and let me check online. I see nobody online. I think they're gone. Yeah. All right. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening, Mike McCray. First of all, I'd like to say Happy New Year to each and every one of you, as well as your family. May
Happy
you have
New
a
Year.
healthy and prosperous one, as well as to the citizens here in this great city. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying we're getting ready for an election here in this city. Mayor, I'm going to address my comments to you since you said follow this decorum. Hopefully, when we get a new mayor, we can do away with this, because I sat there and we could talk to anybody we wanted to. I'd like to say to the commissioner who's running for District 3, sir, I have watched you during your first year, first term. You did an outstanding job. I don't live in District 3, but if I did, you got my vote. Sure, some people are going to say they feel indifference. Keep doing what you're doing. You're not looking at only District 3. You're making decisions for the entire city, and you should be commended. You're not bending. And I'm going to say this publicly. You are an excellent judge of people as well as their character, sir. I back you. I also like to say to this city, our sanitation department, the only time you hear from citizens is when they're doing a bad job. I want to stand tonight and say for District 2, for the last 2 months, I don't know what you all have been doing, but keep doing what you're doing. You're cleaning the place up. God bless you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, state your name when you're ready.
Susan Oyer, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed their holidays. I did too. Most of you follow me on social media and saw my pictures from my vacation. Please feel free to come visit me in France. I'm here tonight to talk about saving the historic Andrews House once again. I'm requesting that we move this over by the Magnuson House. There's plenty of room. It's the easiest move. I believe that's option number 5 on your project information that's coming up tonight. The other ones make no sense, and this is a great way to activate and continue to improve the activation of Ocean Avenue and downtown is by putting it near the Magnuson. I think you should look at the developer who has said he would help pay for this in Historic Preservation Board minutes. Maybe you want to go back and look at them. I'm not done sorting through them. When I do, don't worry, you'll get a copy of that big, long email with all the highlights showing exactly who said what. But that's a great way to get our funding. You should be looking at getting community sponsors. We have an active chamber. Have you reached out to the chamber yet? When we get to that point and ask them and the participating businesses for money, I know I will be as a chamber ambassador. And yes, I'll be happy to write a small little check. I'm not a huge corporation. I'm also asking that we, once again, hire a historic planner. We were winning awards. Our historic planner, Warren Adams, was speaking all over the United States. He was recognized by the Queen before she passed for his work in England. This is a man who put us on the historic preservation map. We were doing amazing things. We were the leaders in the state of Florida for historic preservation, and it's just totally dropped. And I will say, going back and looking at those minutes, they bring this up constantly, how much they need a historic planner, how much our city could benefit, including investigating the economic impact of historic buildings and historic sites in the city and what that brings and drives in tourism-wide. So I do advocate for the building to be used for businesses, for retail, whether it's small businesses like Artsy Living or having lawyers or artists or architects in there. Let's do something. Let's activate these buildings. We can sell bricks and make it beautiful out in front in a courtyard and bring money in to help defray the cost, but also to drive people to that spot. So once again, I'm asking you to save the historic Andrews House and to move it over next to the Magnuson. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, all. My name is Charles Hunt, military retiree from Rolling Green, 1330 Northwest First Court. Hello, board. I trust that you all are taking our problems under consideration in Rolling Green in this case. Whereas outrageous, ridiculous, and unfair liens and fines are being put against our homes. If these liens and fines was close to being within the Boynton Beach ordinance, I can partially understand, but they are not. They are far away. Therefore, we have no other reason but to believe that these liens and fines that have been put against our homes are nothing but a scam and racketism to take our homes. For example, my home has been charged $75 a day since July 18th, and it's still being charged. Whereas we don't live in an HOA, but my home in carport it's good or better than HOAs. We're asking you to please get rid of these charges that has been charged against the homes in Rolling Green for the last 2 years, because we have a biased inspector officer and made up fines. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, you may begin when you're ready.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado. It is a new year, so Happy New Year. But we carry a lot of things back over into this new year. I have a question. When is the ongoing investigation going to be completed in regards to the $40 million land grab that was done? For those of you who don't know, $40 million was stolen from the city of the Boynton Beach taxpayers. That is you and that is me. Where JKM developer and owner John Markey allegedly manipulated the city's land deals with certain officials, Lori Levere, who used to be the city manager, and allegedly that is why she's been fired. Jim Sheriff and DJ Duty, city attorneys and city undercommissioners at that time were Grant, Katz, Hayes, Romales, and Penserka, who were on the board and who allowed this to go on underneath our very noses. We, the people of the city of Boynton Beach, demand a full investigation on each and every government employee involved in this transaction to be punished to the fullest extent of our law. We demand restitution and restoration. We want our land back. While I'm speaking on criminal investigations that have not been dealt with yet, what happened with the HR lady who worked, Tennille DaCosta, who used art money to promote her Del Rey campaign? When are these things going to be handled? When are we going to get answers? When are we going to get back what was stolen from us? When are these people going to pay for their crimes? Talking about that, what about my case? All of you saw when I was accosted in this room, and then you heard the chief of police by a letter he sent me that nothing happened. Nothing happened. Is this going to be a continuation of everything that goes on in this city? Nothing happened. While people are paying hardships, we're losing $40 million. Let that sink in. $40 million of our downtown property was stolen from us. Why? Because we didn't have good stewards looking out for us. They were looking out for their pocketbooks. And also, who hired Acosta? Did anybody look at her background? Do you know that she had 7 charges against her from other cities of her doing robberies? Did anybody look into these people who are being hired? Or was it because someone on the dais was a friend of hers? I'm asking because this is very important. We've got to do better. You're hurting we the people. And at last, I want to ask you, is this a criminal enterprise? Because it seems like, unfortunately, people are getting away with crimes that you and I, us as we the people, would never get away with. You're held to a higher accountability. And I expect this year for restitution from the crimes that were done, from each and every American that's done in the city, as well as this property that was stolen, as well as an employee that stole monies. And I would like to also say today, I don't know why, I know someone gave an accolade for the trash. Our trash wasn't picked up. It's still sitting out there. And by the way, did you know that there are 3 homes for women that are drug addicted? And the other day, one was walking down the street screaming in the atmosphere, just yelling and screaming, and I thought someone was killing somebody. Who's keeping a watch on these? Was it approved by anyone to have these 3 places here? You just need to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, next podium, or either one. State your name for the record and you may get started.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Renstein. I'm here today as a deeply concerned homeowner who's experienced an alarming situation that no one should face. My home has been struck by 5 bullets, 5 bullets yesterday to be exact. This has been an ongoing situation for over 10 years. I've reported it to the police. I've reported it to the city. Luckily, they have put a camera right in front of our area, but cameras aren't going to really stop a situation. That's after the math. So I'm concerned because as a real estate agent, as a property owner, as well as a landlord, what am I supposed to do in this scenario? How do I ensure that the safety for the kids, the neighborhood, and everyone is, is taken care of? Also, on First Street, you guys are doing affordable living homes, which is great for the community. If the shooting is happening literally right across the street, how are you guys going to be able to sell these properties to future homeowners? So speaking with the police, by the way, the police department here has done a wonderful, wonderful job. They get there, they secure the situation, they're friendly, they've done their part. But they can only do so much with what you guys give them. I have no problem by allowing them to be on my property to sit and scope until something can actually be done. I've also addressed that nature to the tenants, like, hey, it's your friends, it's your buddies. Like, you guys have to do something. If this was in an HOA community, HOA would remove the tenants as well as the other party. But because we don't have HOA, this is a matter now that I have to address to the city. I've already addressed it to the owner of the property, and they said, who cares? That has nothing to do with me. But I know as a landlord, if it's my tenant that's causing the incident, I am going to remove that tenant in order to do. So today, I also went to the city to ask them to do an emergency injunction to not give them the business tax license to rent until they actually, A, get maybe a property management license or learn better. I actually went and got my real estate license 10 years ago. I continue education, property management. Why is it that these guys are able to continue a public nuisance, which has already been addressed to the city for the last 10 years? Thank you. That's my concerns.
Thank you. And sir, could you just say your name one more time? I'm not sure if I got it. Did you say Ren?
It's Renstein Jean Baptiste.
Okay, thank you
Second
so
Street.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Wesley Schuler. I want to address the issue in District 2. The new property development that's going on 4th Street. I want to know, did anybody from developer or the city do an outreach job fair? Because we see that they just broke ground on the site. So I want to get ahead of this situation, because what happened in District 2 again with the last project that just went up, it was no minorities and it was nobody hardly from the community working on that project. Mostly everybody from down south, down in Miami, was on that project. You only had the plumbing company from Boynton work on that project, and then when you call labor, you had somebody from Boynton work in that project. But it's nobody on that project from Boynton, hardly. So this new project that's coming up right now, we want to know, is it anything in the clause from the CRA, because it's a CRA project and the city owns the property? Is there anything in the clause that helps small business for them to do their part to outreach the community? And if it don't happen in Boynton, it goes over into Palm Beach County. Then after that, it goes over to Broward. But for right now, this is where it stops. We're not taking no more from this. If we're not gonna be able to get no work from this, y'all need to re-sit down and start doing your contracts better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker on the next podium.
106, Tori Orr. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm here tonight as well at the apartments on First Street that's being built. I want to know, like, why isn't nobody from our community? I'm an outreach. I haven't heard about this. I just heard all the dozers over there the other day. And the same thing happened when I had to come on Boynton Beach Boulevard and act out of pocket to get a job for me and my son for Ocean Breeze. And that was 4 years ago. I got a job at Ocean Breeze because they had a job fair on New Year's, the year prior to that, and they only called back one person. And we filled up every application in that building at the Ezel Health Gym, we had the job fair. And we filled out every application, and they were just talking about the apprenticeship program. They was all coming down to the city hall meeting saying how they're gonna teach us how to, they're gonna give us an apprenticeship saying we know how to put up ACs. We know how to help do duct work with electrical work. With the department on the MLK, they came and said the same thing, that they were gonna teach the apprenticeship program with the AC company and also the plumbing company. The plumbing company was there the whole time, for 2 years, building that place. They did not teach not one of us, not nothing. And I'll just be telling them what happened to the apprenticeship program, what happened to that? Y'all saying this is what we were gonna do. Because I went over there trying to learn about plumbing. Y'all gonna give us apprenticeship for it. And now we seeing the same property, we seeing a new property getting built, 90 homes and 90 apartments. And we didn't see not one ad saying that they were gonna start building on this day. We had to hear about it like everybody else and go down there and see. You know, me and a couple more older people, we walked down there yesterday, but right before the shooting happened. You know, and the old guy was caught up over there when they were shooting. He said he just ran behind one of them dump trucks, you know? And we just want to be assured, man, that, you know, that we get an opportunity as people in this district. We barely got people living in any of these apartments. And y'all know I work there. It's not a lot of people from our district in these apartments. It's not a lot of people, they're not teaching us nothing when they come because all of them Spanish. And they don't mess with Yanks, as they say. They butted, they clicked up, you know? And it's a slap in the face. Because then they saying, well, who we gonna call? Then soon they go to talking, they tell you, you know, the state of Florida, they don't have no reason, they can fire you for anything. They don't have no reason. You know, and I'm just coming as a concerned resident of District 2 and a concerned resident of Boynton Beach.
All right, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Next speaker, state your name for the record and begin when you're ready, sir.
Hi, Steve Antone. I haven't seen you all year. Where have you been? I'm here as part of the Save the Andrews House. And one of the things I'm going to mention, and this is from research.ufl.edu, using accepted industry formulas, the research estimates that $3.72 billion in heritage tourism, forget that number, $3.72 billion, almost $4 billion in heritage tourism translates to 107,000 jobs, Florida jobs, including 51,794 in retail sector and 30,068 in the service sector. That's a huge amount of money that we're missing. We've got the beach, we've got golfing, yeah, we got some shopping. We need something to capture people for 4 hours. I was fortunate enough to know the man that his father lent the money to Walt Disney. He lives in Boca Raton. He told me something his father told him. He was a banker. You need a 4-hour capture. You're going to get 80% more money. That's what he told Walt Disney. He gave Walt Disney 4 times the amount of money he was asking so he could build a bigger place so he had 4 hours of capture. We need to keep people in this city for 4 hours, entertained, recreation, and exercise. And that is huge. And that's one of the biggest things that we are not doing, I think, and that we could do to pull in and make, like Susan Oyer said, we need this for this city. It's very plain and simple, and it doesn't cost much. And I don't bring in the money easily without affecting a lot of other services. You don't need a lot more police. You don't need a lot more firemen. You don't need a lot of trash and garbage pickup. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm hoping you guys will listen. That's $3.72 billion in heritage tourism. It's huge. My sisters go on vacation all over the country to visit historic sites. Let's get them to come here. This is a great place to visit and even better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Barbara Reedy. I chair your City Historic Resources Preservation Board. And I just would like to share with you, this commission, that your board, your Historic Resources Preservation Board, has been working on having the Andrews House placed on the local register of historic places for more than 2 years now. We have all of our ducks in a row, all of the motions have been made. The report was completed and paid for in July of 2023. We've been ready, good to go. I would also respectfully request that you seek ownership of the Andrews House. At this time, it's not owned by the city, it's owned by an LLC. And in order to protect it from demolition, which could actually happen at any moment because the LLC has an open-ended demolition permit at the moment. We could wake up in the morning and find it gone already. So if we could please seek ownership of the building and please move forward on having it placed on our local register, which would acknowledge how precious it is to the city. Also, I would like to invite everyone this Saturday. The Historical Society, of which I'm also a part, is holding its annual free Highwayman Art Show in the gym at the old high school, which we're very grateful to have. It's a wonderful facility to hold an event like that. Actual Highwayman artists are coming, and there will be actual Highwayman art for sale. And if you don't know what Highwayman art is, I would say use the Google. Thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mark here, George. Want you to consider something. We don't do it that often. It's been years since it's been brought up. But you can write into agreements a community benefit agreement where you hold the developer's feet to the fire to have local hires. And you need, I'll be candid with you, what Tori talked about, Lewis lied to y'all. He had the job fairs, he promised everything, and then as soon as nobody was looking and nobody was going to check him, nobody was going to verify that he was going to do the things that he had promised, he got away with it. And that's just the way he does business. And I know that because I've been a competitor of his. I was a competitor of his for many years. The community benefit agreement, you write it into the agreement. You require local hires. You require a certain percentage. And you verify that by the payroll taxes, because they ain't gonna lie to the IRS, okay? So you look on that, and that's how you verify it. It's been years since we've done that. We need to go back to it. In addition to that, if you can't get them to do that, you have a little side agreement. Doesn't end up in the papers or anything, but you have a side agreement. We did that with a certain development, I'm not gonna mention the names, where we went and had a private conversation. And how did we verify it? We went back and checked it personally. And we made sure that they had local hires. And that business still exists today and still has 80% of their people working there as local hires. And by the way, most of them have a darker complexion than me. So we can do it. We just got to get back to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Flynn Holland, and Happy New Year. I first wanted to applaud for great things that have happened. All of the events we had downtown were fabulous. It really brought out the community. The kids were thrilled. The first night was great. Yeah, there was a low group, but the capieras were just out of this world, and it's been totally great. And that's the good side. And another good side is that I was working out in my front yard, and there was a team of people on either side of Seacrest Boulevard, and they were cleaning the sidewalks. And I talked with them. It is so wonderful. Of 30 years I've been here, I could only get to half of my sidewalk to be able to do it. They did a great job, and it's going to take a while. He mentioned that you might have it done every 6 months or rotation and stuff. He did a great job. He was really well qualified and had the trucks and everything for it. The sidewalks on Seacrest, now this is the bad news, are cracked. We really do need to see that the cracks along, they're like big holes now, is dangerous in a couple of the areas between maybe second and third or second and fourth, somewhere there. Also the hedges, there's collusia that people are putting in that are way into the sidewalks now. So it's something that code enforcement or somebody should address. I haven't seen code enforcement around, and what I've found around my area is people are doing projects and renovations without permits. And they used to be around and really keep up on it, and it's very easy to see somebody's doing renovations without a permit. They're putting stuff out on the swale to get picked up, and they're being picked up. In the past 2 weeks, there was a house near my house that had that done, and it was like, anyway, so it's getting fast. The Andrews House. I love the Andrews House. I know that you all got packets from the Historic Society. I've become a part of that because it seems so important, and so much of the people that are involved in it are really there, serious, to be able to make this happen and make it happen for you and with you. And so I'd really like you to have it somehow on the agenda that we can actually talk about that and see if there's a commitment from the city or the CRA to make it happen, because it's a beautiful building and it should be safe. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
So, Miriam Naranjo, Schoolhouse Children's Museum. Good evening, Commissioners. I'd like to start with thanking you for the opportunity to speak today and for your continued support of the Schoolhouse Children's Museum. Your partnership is vital to our mission, and I'm excited to share some updates we've accomplished together. Over the past year, the museum has welcomed more than 35,000 visitors, drawing people from 67 Florida cities, 35 states, and 5 countries. This incredible reach highlights the museum's role as a cornerstone for education, family engagement, and history in our community. Thanks to generous funding from the Henry Nias Foundation, we've been able to expand our outreach programs. We've partnered with local preschools and are now serving approximately 400 students per month, in addition to our in-house field trips that have been incredibly successful. We've scheduled a field trip every Monday, schools in session since the start of the academic year, and we are fully booked through the rest of the school year. Looking ahead, we are thrilled to be planning our fundraiser, which is the Museum Family Fun Day, which will be right here in Centennial Park on January 25th from 10 to 2 p.m. And this year we expect 1,500 attendees for a day celebrating everything the museum has to offer, including science, literacy, arts, and culture. And it's also a spotlight for the incredible contributions of our local community heroes. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great news. All right, you may begin.
Mike Fitzpatrick, 175 Southwest 2nd Street. Everybody I have talked to believes moving to Andrews House to the Magnus House property is the best move option. On a different subject, some things the building department does are great. When increasing the Seacrest Sound apartment project to 90 units per acre, there are no worries that there will be enough water, that the pressure will be high enough to flow up 3 stories and spray from a shower, or the toilets will correctly flush. It is almost like the last generation of city planners had a crystal ball and knew today's city commission would approve the increased zoning on staff's approval.
So when Seacrest Boulevard was torn up over 20 years ago, they put in oversized pipes. However, on existential problems, the Planning and Building Department does not do so well. Global warming and the accompanying sea level rise, or anticipating in 10 years, nearly every housing unit will need a car charger, or local environmental extinction. My question today is about another problem, UV exposure. As we all know, humans have destroyed a large portion of the ozone layer, resulting in a huge increase in skin cancer and, among other things, pushing frogs worldwide towards extinction. The U.S. Congress passed laws limiting the release of Freon-type gases into the atmosphere. The results, after a few decades, has been a positive thickening of the ozone layer. But is Boynton Beach doing its part? I believe Section 608 of the Clean Air Act deals with the recovery and reporting of refrigerants. In dealing with the Andrews House, I have read the demolition permit document twice. As near as I can tell, there is no reporting required on the recovery of refrigerant from the 2 AC units at the Andrews House. The demolition permit seems to indicate the city of Boynton Beach is okay with a demolition backhoe ripping out AC units and releasing 6 to 12 pounds of refrigerant per unit. Is this correct? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I see two more people in the room. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ginger Peterson. I'm here to put my support, as you know, behind the Andrews House. I read the preliminary report of your building board that gave estimates on its move. It seems to me that the option that puts it next to the Magnuson House is the most logical in creating a whole area that is historically related, so that you would have the high school, you would have the 1913 schoolhouse, you'd have the Magnuson House, and then the Andrews House to create a whole zone. I think that makes the most sense than rather just putting it on a piece of property somewhere else in the city where it has no meaning, it has no face in it. And then, just like Steve Anton said, is getting people here and having them spend time. People who spend time spend money. And I think that's what we finally need to do to really bring our downtown into something that could be like Delray Beach. If you want to see a beautiful example of a house that has a great use and was restored, there is the McDougal Sample House down in Pompano Beach that was moved to its location near the small plane airport there. It is an absolutely beautiful facility and grounds that's used for weddings and meetings and other things. A little bigger house, but similarly it's made of Dade County pine and is absolutely a beautiful place. And it's really unique, that kind of wood. In my mind, they just dismantled in West Palm Beach, piece by piece, a small house that was made of Dade County pine because it is so valuable. So it just makes me really angry inside to think that we're just going to take that to a backhoe and smash it all to bits. So I do also, what Susan Oyer said, we need to get this behind, and what Barbara Reedy said, we need to get city ownership and have that historic preservation report taken seriously. I served on the board for 9 years, and the Andrews House came up all the time. I also support that we need to have a historic preservation planner back under city employment. That was a position that actually brought money and grants in, and certainly he paid for his own position, and that can happen again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Edgar Burton. I want to bring light to an event I'm going to be having soon, January 19th. My birthday is January 16th. Instead of having an ordinary party hangout, I'm dedicating my birthday to an outreach, community outreach. We'll be providing free food. I got a couple companies coming out: Humana, Genesis Healthcare, Palm Beach School District coming out, Trinity Counseling Center, Safe Home, and Hope Diller. Hope Diller is a mental health. I'm big on mental health. It's a mental health program, so I'm big on that. I don't have a nonprofit. I'm just getting started with it. It's my first year. I just woke up, hey man, let's do something different with my birthday this year. So with that, I got bounce houses, popcorn, snow cone machines. We giving away. I got donated a PS5 and some Bluetooth speakers. So I'm basically going to raffle those off. But you gotta visit each station to enter that raffle. We're gonna have it at Sarah Sims, January 19th. I just want to put a light on that. No, I don't. Most of it's coming out of pocket. If anybody want to donate, you can contact me, 561-376-6736. I just want to do something different, have a platform for people can reach out, somewhere can go, network, get health care, and some access to that their daily lives, that better their lives, man. We don't have that, so I decided to dedicate my birthday to that outreach. That I'm going to be putting on January 19th at Sarah Sims. If I can get some city support, that would be lovely. I can email this to you guys, forward the flyer I got, forward it to you guys, and go from there. I want to build it every year, have it bigger and bigger, but this year is roughly coming out of my pocket, so that's what I got, man. I appreciate the city. I've been working here, I'm football commissioner at the Bulldogs. I've been working here 10 years. I just want to see the community grow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for what you're doing. I see no one else approaching the podium. With that, I'll go to those online, and I see no one online. With that, public audience is now closed. Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to move on to the next portion of the agenda.
Real quick,
Sure.
Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Andrew, it was mentioned in public comment. Do you mind just giving a little bit of a progress update of where we're at with the county in regards to Seacrest?
Yes, so we've engaged, or we started to engage with our consultant. We got a task order I hopefully bring back on February 4th for an award of a task order to do some preliminary designs on Seacrest Boulevard to do access control, new medians, new landscaping, new drainage, sidewalks from Boynton Beach Boulevard to Woolbright. Once we complete that work, we're going to turn it over to the county, and they're going to put it in their work program, and hopefully that project will be born within 5 years or sooner, as funding is available.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks for that update.
Excellent. Good news. Anything else from my colleagues? Let's keep going. Under consent agenda, are there any items that my colleagues would like to pull under consent? Any requests for discussion?
Only one. Let's go ahead and pull 6G and H, only for a short discussion.
Okay, 6G and H. Are there any other requests from my colleagues?
Nope, mine was H.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the remainder of consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion from
Second.
Commissioner and a second from Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. The motion was made by Vice Mayor, and then seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Yes, absolutely. Let's now address the two pulled items 6G. Do we have anyone from staff to address 6G? Andrew? Oh, they're coming up. Great.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. We've got a taller mic if you want to move over to the next one.
And I was coming here. Here I am.
There we go.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Could you just give us like a quick, like super
fine.
short, quick overview of what these grants are and
Sure. This year, as past years, we have had two grants for small businesses. One is the Small Business Support Grant, and the other one is the Marketing Support Grant. We have a budget of $125,000 for those two grants. This year, we did something a little different, is that we implemented a ranking process for all the applicants, just to make sure that the funds were distributed in a fair way and to businesses that really were going to have an impact in the community rather than just applying. In prior years, we had 26 applicants last year, and the only way to that the grants were awarded was just by application. but there was no evaluation whatsoever on the impact on the community or the viability of the business. So this year we implemented that, and we were able to award 23 businesses at, for the business support grant, 7 at $10,000 and 6 at $5,000. With the marketing support grant, 15 applied, 20, and 10 were awarded at $2,500 each.
And how many applicants did not receive any grant funding?
We had 19 applicants, and so it was 2 were ineligible because they were outside of the area. So 15 applicants on the support grant, 2 were ineligible because of the same. It was outside of the area. There was actually one in Deerfield Beach, in Delray Beach, that applied.
Thank you. The reason why I pulled this item was really just to get us in the thought of, we have a lot of businesses that I have personally had conversations with that are struggling right now. You know, their rents have significantly increased, and I think that one important thing that we can do here is to support our local businesses, and we're obviously doing that here right now. Is there an opportunity for us to potentially help our businesses more, or help businesses that maybe didn't make the cut during this application cycle? So what I would like to do is request, if I can get consensus, if we can look for further opportunities to potentially expand the grant program so that we may have more applicants apply and have more small businesses receive aid.
Yeah, definitely. Staff will work with other departments also to look for funding, and also outside to see if we can have anything added to this funding, because it's essential for the businesses, definitely.
I know, and I didn't realize that the rent could increase halfway through the year. I thought it was only an annual thing, so that's something that I might want to educate myself more on, and seeing if there's anything that we could do policy-wise to.
Absolutely. Amanda Radigan, Planning and Development Director. One of the things I'd like to put a kind of shameless plug in is one of the things that we have been reviewing is a way to use CDBG funds in order to support it for small business grants. We did apply during this last budget cycle for those funds and weren't awarded. We will be applying again this next year. So I ask that you guys review our application and support businesses in more ways as possible. These dollars that are earmarked are general fund dollars, so they come directly from general fund, and CDBG dollars is another opportunity to take state, federal, other dollars and put them in Boynton Beach in our business communities.
And that would be during July, the budget, right?
Yes.
Okay. I would just say if there's any potential opportunity for us to do that before then, I would, suggest that we just look into that. I don't want any promises.
CDBG funds?
Just funding in general to support the businesses, because we have quite a few businesses that are being challenged right now with the cost of the rent. And, yep, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Turkin. I saw your hand was up.
Thank you, Mayor. Amanda, I'm glad you brought up the CDGB funds. I did advocate for that, for the record, and I hope to see that come back in the future. Adam, I know we had briefly talked about this, and I just want to thank you guys so much for putting that criteria and evaluation component in that. I think, Adam, we discussed about an at-home business versus a brick and mortar, right? That's providing jobs, creating jobs.
Correct.
Rent, obviously. For me, my opinion is I think we should support those brick and mortar, right? Not that we shouldn't support at-home businesses, but, typically these brick and mortar are going to be providing more jobs for the community and feeding, people's families. And so I'm definitely in support Commissioner Cruz at looking at, some ulterior funding. Well, if that's CDGB, if that's a budget amendment, playing with some line items, I'm definitely in favor of that. One of the business on here, El Attico, they had an issue with their rent increasing. They celebrated 10 years in Boynton Beach. And, I think and businesses have the opportunity to do what's best for them in their pocketbooks to maybe leave, right? They have a brand, people will follow them, yet a lot of these businesses choose to stay in Boynton Beach and they choose to support our local community. And so, I'm a big component of rewarding loyalty and rewarding people who choose us and, being a good community partner. So you definitely have my support for that, Commissioner Cruz.
And Commissioner Cruz, we will, like we discussed last week, we will look at our existing budget to see if, if there are some additional funds. We do have a pretty lean budget in economic development, but the city historically does mid-year budget amendments. So if there's an opportunity there to pull another $25,000 or something to allocate towards small businesses, we'll look at that as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for working on it and evaluating the businesses, and hopefully we'll have more in the future.
And, under Gigi's leadership, the more that the commission and the city wants to support businesses, we always have the opportunity to create different types of grants to help different types. There are rent assistance programs, which is something we could do with CDBG in certain areas. There's lots of different types of grants that we can explore if funding became available.
I like the idea of rental assistance for the CDBG. Something to look into.
Yes.
Can I make a motion to approve, or do we want more discussion?
I don't think there's any further discussion. I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, sorry. Yes, I know.
Thank you.
Vice
You're
Mayor, go
fine.
ahead.
No worries. Gigi, I just wanted to kind of sing your praises a little bit. When you came in, you hit the ground running. You've brought in, with you and your team, a bunch of great programs that support our local businesses. And this funding is great. But when you look at the entire package of what we offer small businesses, it's really unheard of to see that kind of city support for our small businesses. And of course, I think we should always be looking at if we have an overabundance of applicants, where can we find more money? Let's make sure that we're being fiscally responsible too, and don't have a bunch of money sitting in an account that's not being used, obviously. But we know there's a need. We see that need. We see local businesses coming into the city. I think on Congress Avenue alone, we had at least 2, if not 3, that have opened their doors in the last 2 weeks. So there's really exciting stuff happening with our small businesses or local businesses. And so I just thank you, Gigi, for really just getting in there and working with the small businesses and working with your team to really support and push the small businesses in our city. So just thank you. Thank you, Amanda, and all of the planning team. You guys are doing a great job supporting with your small team, because it's really just a couple of you. So I think you're doing the work of probably triple the staff that you have. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Now, there were 2 items. Let's do them individually. Item 6G, proposed resolution number R25-006. That is your motion?
Yes, Mayor.
And is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of approving item, and let me just double check, was it really 6? 6G. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Let's address 6H, proposed resolution number R25-007. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we have concluded that portion of consent. We're going to move on to Section 7, consent bids and purchases over $100,000. Are there any items that my colleagues would like to pull under this section?
7D.
7D. Any other requests from my colleagues? Hearing no other requests, let's have a motion to approve the remainder of consent bids and purchases. We have a motion from Commissioner Cruz, a second from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor of approving the remainder of consent bids and purchases over 100K say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Let's go ahead and address 7D, proposed resolution number R25-016. And who do we have? All right, we've got Dr. Calcott.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Management. This item is really for getting a rehabilitation for our major lift station. The major lift station is 317. I know in just the past few weeks, we had some complaints about odor. I want to make sure that everybody understands that this rehab has nothing to do just with odor. Odor is part of it, but the lift station is really old and requires a lot of changing of all the structural items as well as pumps. So this will improve capacity, this will improve flow, this will improve reliability. Also, odor will be addressed. For the time being, what we've done is we've put a odor control system in place right now, and that seems to be working. We have a pilot project that we are doing. We've done a similar pilot project in the past with a similar odor control system that had worked. Then we had to change it to another odor control system, and that seems to have not worked for too long, and that's why we started seeing some of those complaints come in. So what probably I'm going to try and come to the commission in the next meeting is purchase of this odor control system. Right now we are renting it, and we will be able to, once we purchase it, because the rehab is going to take 2 years before that construction project gets done. It's in design, finishing up. We have a guaranteed max price, and that, as you can see, that price is a pretty large price tag for these lift stations. So we want to make sure that we upkeep these lift stations. And what we're also doing is we're doing a lift station plan, which is going to look at all our major lift stations and look at whether there are any gaps. And I just spoke to the consultant earlier today, and doesn't look like any other lift station needs this kind of major rehab, at least in the near future. But I'm here to answer any other questions or any other concerns that you have.
Commissioner, you pulled this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Kelka, I just want to say thank you for you and the whole utilities team. You guys are always swift anytime there's an issue, and no one talks about that. The bogus media doesn't talk about that. They always talk about the negative. So I want to extend my appreciation, and not just myself, but at least, you know, the constituencies and the residents that I talk to and that I communicate with, they are grateful for your swift action. And you guys don't get enough credit. You only get the negative perception of some people who don't even know what's really going on in the city, right? So I just advise you and the whole team and the city manager to be, you know, ignore the noise. You guys do a great job, and it takes a great organization to be as swift as your department is. So thank you so much for everything you do. You know, strong kudos. And those bozo reporters that wrote that should be ashamed of themselves for trying to smear the hard work that you and your team do. And if anyone had a part of that from this dais, they should be ashamed of themselves. So I just want to extend my heartfelt gratitude and thank you to you and your team.
Thank you. I'll pass that on. I'm sure they'll really be appreciative. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from my colleagues on this item? With that, may I have a motion to approve item 7D? We have a motion from Commissioner Hayes. Is there a second? A second from Vice Mayor. All those in favor of approving item 7D, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, with that, motion passes unanimously. We're now going to move on to the public hearing, Section 8 portion of the agenda. I'm going to turn to the city clerk. We're going to begin the procedure with swearing in and disclosures, ex parte declarations and disclosures. Let's begin, city clerk.
If anyone is here to speak on item 8A through C, please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may have a seat.
All right, thank you. We can begin the disclosure process. And I don't care which side we begin on, maybe on the right side, if you're ready.
Sure.
Okay.
As to this matter, I have had ex parte communications with the applicant. I have received written communication, specifically the traffic study from Palm Beach County. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have received expert opinions from our staff as well as the engineer last meeting. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
I'm sorry, can we just, was that for items A, B, and C, just to clarify, in one? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
As to matters 8A, B, and C, I have had communications with counsel for the applicant. I have not received written communication. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit other than to drive by. I have not received expert opinions. I request these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As for myself, as to items 8A, B, and C, I have had communications with their legal counsel. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit outside of, like you, Vice Mayor, driving by, and I have not received outside expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Commissioner Hay. Oh, the mic.
Pertaining to A, B, and C, I have not had ex par communication. I have not received written communication. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have had received expert opinion from staff. I request that these disclosures and all written communication be made part of the record.
All right, thank you.
Since the last meeting, I have not had export communications. I have not received any written communications. I have not conducted investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. Now we're going to proceed to items 8, B, and C. We're going to address all three items at the same time, but we will be voting on them separately, of course. We're first going to hear from the applicant, followed by staff, after which we will have public comments. It is second reading. We will turn back to the applicant and staff for any rebuttals.
I have to read it into the record.
Oh, of course. Go ahead, Maylee. It's quite a lengthy one, but let's get started.
Okay, proposed ordinance number 24-024, second reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending ordinance number 89-38 by amending the future land use map of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida for an approximately 2.97 acre parcel of real property generally located north of the C. Stanley Weaver Canal on the west side of North Seacrest Boulevard, Boynton Beach, Florida, by changing the future land use classification from low-density residential and recreational to local, retail, commercial, declaring the proposed amendment to the future land use map to be consistent with the other elements of the comprehensive plan of the city, providing for severability, conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Proposed ordinance number 24-025, second reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending ordinance number 02-013 to rezone an approximately 2.97 acre parcel of real property generally located north of the C. Stanley Weaver Canal on the west side of the North Seacrest Boulevard, Boynton Beach, Florida, from the single-family residential to planned commercial development, declaring the proposed amendment to be consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city, providing for severability, conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Would you like me to read the development orders as well?
Is that legally necessary? I don't believe it is. It's usually just the heading of the ordinances.
That's fine.
Okay, all right. So let's begin with the applicant. Good evening, Ms. Miskell. This is second reading, so we'll be entertaining public comments later down the road.
Good
Please begin.
evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. My name is Bonnie Miskell, and I'm here on behalf of the owner and applicant, Mr. Carlick, who is standing to my left. We do have 3 requests on the agenda this evening. The first is a future land use map amendment from LDR, low-density residential, to local retail commercial. The second is a rezoning from R1A, single-family residential, to PCD, planned commercial development. A master plan approval for 89 dwelling units, 100% of which are workforce housing, and a variance to allow a minimum lot requirement. PCD requires 3 acres. We're at 2.97, and that's the last part of it. We did do a full presentation at the last meeting. I am joined by, again, my client and our team, and we are happy to answer any questions that you may have. If you'd like us to come back up after the public portion, we'll be here.
All right, thank you. And just for clarity's sake, no changes have been made?
No changes have been made. I think there are some minor tweaks to some of the conditions, which we have gone over with staff, and we are comfortable with the conditions as given to you as amended.
All right, sounds good. And staff, if you could come up and if you have any additional commentary.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commission, Luis Bencos, my principal planner. Staff doesn't have much to add other than yes, we incorporated the conditions as requested during the previous City Commission meeting regarding the EV charging station, the maximum density, maximum height, and also the use of open space, which I would like to read into the record, if that's fine.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the conditional approval number 15, provide 10 EV-ready parking spaces, including the necessary infrastructure to support the EV charging stations. 2 of these spaces should be equipped with 2 level 2 electric vehicle charging stations, each capable of serving 2 parking spaces. Prior to the issuance of any permits, deed restrictions should be recorded in the official records of Palm Beach County, limiting the building height to 41 and the maximum density to 81 dwelling units in accordance with approved master plan. Please ensure that the deed restrictions include language requiring City Commission approval for any proposed modifications. Conditions of approval number 17, prior to the issuance of any permits, deed restrictions should be recorded in the official records of Palm Beach County, ensuring that 100% of the proposed 89 dwelling units are income restricted for household earning up to 120% of the area median income as outlined in the master plan. And the last condition, number 18, a public access easement shall be established for the proposed usable open space area as shown on the master plan, and should be identified on the plat to ensure unobstructed public access. That's all. Staff is here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you so much. Let me turn to my colleagues if they have any questions now while they're already at the podium. If not, I'll proceed. Oh, I
No
have a hand.
question, just a quick comment. Thank you for sending the traffic study from the county. The traffic study did state that it was not going to be a significant impact on the road, but thank you for providing that, and all my other questions have been answered.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I brought this up at the agenda review. What is, and my concern about protecting these units as affordable for the length of the building being there? And I know that there are deed restrictions that have been put in place, but I also know what it takes to reverse a deed restriction. And so I know that staff, when I talked at my agenda review, that was going to be brought up at this meeting. But what, I would like to know what is being done either on your end or on staff's end as far as really, solidifying the affordable housing aspect of these units. And so if you can speak on that, but I know, deed restrictions are great when you have a commission that supports that, but I know what it takes to reverse those. So that always is a concern of mine when we're talking about affordable housing that is so necessary, and I know, so if you could address that, that would be great.
Of course. Again, Bonnie Miskell here for the client. First of all, the 30-year limitation for the 100% is not reversible. And to further solidify, and that is an agreement, it's a contract, it's between the parties, which would include the city as well. So it could not be unilaterally modified in any way. And that is very typical of most workforce housing agreements. This situation is a little bit different to the extent that this is also a PCD and a master plan, and there are conditions to approval. So in the event that this owner, or if they should sell the property in the future, or any future owner should intend to deviate from those conditions or rules, not only is there a contract that has that irreversible provision, but there are conditions to the approval, which would put this in a code enforcement kind of scenario as well. So in this instance, you are doubly protected because that they are part of conditions to this approval, and it is part of one of the terms to the master plan as well. So I think you're doubly protected, but they are very difficult to break. Additionally, there are requirements and terms within the declaration that would require us to do reporting so that your staff can verify that we are doing what we need to do to ensure that these units are being rented to people that, number one, qualify and follow all the other requirements.
And is that just for the 30 years, or is that forever?
Well, it is for 30 years. That doesn't mean that this
Right.
owner or future owner wouldn't intend to continue it for a number of different reasons. There might be grant monies available in the future, I don't know.
So if I could please clarify, Amanda Radigan, Planning and Development Director, the 30 years I believe Ms. Miskell is referring to are the requirements to do the live local as discussed at the last meeting. I thought it was the intention of the commission by requiring this specific deed restriction is that it is in perpetuity. So I want to make sure that our condition of approval is accurate to your request, and I want to make sure that the applicant understands the proposed language.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Karlik with the development team, Global One Investment Group and Seacrest Apartments Property Owners LLC. Yeah, we would agree to having this in perpetuity. It's our intent to build this workforce housing and keep it affordable for Boynton Beach, and that's been our intent throughout this entire process.
Thank you. I would request that as we make the motion, we clarify that, and we will add the language into the conditions of approval to clearly state that these deed restrictions will be in perpetuity.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Kelly, I want to commend you for making that point because we have such a need for affordable housing in the city. And the fact that you were able to also agree beyond the 30 years to make it in perpetuity, we also commend you for that. I don't know if your intention was to, and I believe that's what I understood, that your intention was to make sure that that was the case forever and that nothing could undo it. I know we've done something in, and I don't want to kind of jump the gun, but I know in previous deed restrictions, we've made a commitment to do like a 5-vote versus a 3-vote to undo, to really make sure that, you know, it is affordable in perpetuity or whatever the purpose of the land is. Is that something that, you know, you all would be okay with?
Let me just explain. Yeah, I had a feeling. So normally a majority. I think typically you work with a supermajority, which is a very high burden and standard to meet. Are you willing to agree that should you come back to them in the future for any kind of modification as it relates to the workforce housing, that it would be supermajority?
Absolutely.
There you have it. 4 it is.
So,
Thank you.
because you brought it up, if you want to make
Yeah.
a motion, I'll deserve the credit.
Are we?
Not yet, we do need public comments.
You're good.
But while they're up here, did anybody else have any other questions for them, either one of you? All right, with that, thank you so much, everybody. If you could take a seat for a few moments. If there's anyone who would like to speak on items 8, B, or C, these are related items, now is the time to approach the podium. And as always, after we finish with those in chambers, we'll go to those online. Okay, let me switch to the timer.
So what's a project from Bonnie
Could
without?
you state your name for the record, please?
Of course, Susan Oyer. What's a project from Bonnie without a question or comment from Susan Oyer? So can't let this go by me. So sorry I was on vacation and missed the initial presentation on this. Are these apartments or condos? Because we don't need any more apartments in our city. We need purchased housing. And I thought we were all kind of on that same board and on that same level. So I know this is going to happen. It's going to go through. This looks like a beautiful project. But at the end of the day, we need owner-occupied housing. We need housing people can purchase and live in. We do not need any more apartments and the assorted problems that go along with having apartments in a city versus having owner-occupied housing. So I'd ask that you look at that. Second of all, having missed the thing, and I'm sorry if I'm reiterating here, what's being done art-wise? And this is next to C. Stanley Weaver Canal. Are they doing something to honor Stanley Weaver, who is one of our former mayors and is from one of the most prominent, oldest families in our city? So I would ask, what is happening there? So I would ask that you remember that, because that's something worth bringing up. You know, that canal is named for one of the greatest men in our county's history and our city's history. So how is this being tackled and approached? And again, this sounds fabulous. I have no problem with the workforce. Yay, deed restrict the heck out of it. But I would ask that you stop putting apartments in and only do purchased housing and look at the art and make sure they're honoring Stanley Weaver in some way, shape, or form on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next speaker.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado, I do want to piggyback on that. We need single-family homes and/or condos where people are paying. I live in this community. I watch all these renters. It doesn't matter to them. They don't care because they don't have a root into the property. And I take very good care of my property. I like it to be beautiful when people walk by, and I get multiple compliments. So I would appreciate if we don't take away everything and make it rental, and let's have some ownership in this land. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the chambers? I see no one online. With that, public comments on these items is now closed. All right, let me turn back to the applicant and to staff. If either one of you have any final comments, no changes, no comments, anything from my colleagues? With that, we'll proceed to voting. We're going to address these items one by one. Under item 8A, there are 2 proposed ordinance, so let's do them one at a time. Proposed ordinance number 24-024. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Vice Mayor, and I heard the second from Commissioner Hay. Let's turn to our city clerk for the roll call. Again, this is 24-024, the very first item, 8A.
Commissioner Hay?
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin is absent. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Penserga?
Yes.
In a roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
Okay.
4.
Yeah, we'll take it. Mainly, we're going to proceed now to proposed ordinance number 24-025. May I have a motion from my colleagues?
So move.
From
Second.
Commissioner Hay and a second from Commissioner Cruz. Let's begin the roll call.
Commissioner Hay?
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin is absent. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Penserga?
Yes.
In a roll call vote, the motion passed.
Thank you. And Amanda, I know you asked for those conditions to be clarified. I just want to make sure it's for which item. I believe it's under C, but I just want to confer with you.
Yes, Mayor, it would be under item 8C.
All right, so now let's address item 8B first, approval of development order for variance for the Seacrest Sound Apartment project. Item 8B, we have a motion for that.
So moved?
We have a motion from Commissioner Cruz. Is there a second? We have a second. It's not an ordinance, so we don't need a roll call vote. But all those in favor of approving item 8B, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? With that, motion passes unanimously. Okay, item 8C, this is, we're looking for a motion to approve the development order for the new master plan for the Seacrest Sound Apartment project. And Amanda, if you could clarify the language so the whole board is on the same page.
Yes, to please amend condition of approval number 17 to include language that ensures the deed restriction is in perpetuity and requires a supermajority by the commission for modification.
Motion to approve the development order for the new master plan with the conditions as stated on the record.
Second?
Excellent. We have a second from Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor of the motion before the board say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone oppose? Motion passes unanimously. We have now concluded items 8, B, and C. Thank you so much. We're now going to proceed to item 8D, proposed ordinance number 24-026. It is a second reading, and with that, we will have public comments. I believe this is the one for the Scrivener's error. Is that right? Yes, it is. Maylee, would you like to formally?
Proposed ordinance number 24-026, second reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, correcting a Scrivener's error in the legal description contained in ordinance 23-021, approving the abandonment of the 30-foot wide unimproved right-of-way established on the Palm Beach Farms Co-Plat number 8, as recorded in Plat Book 5, page 73 of the Public Records of the Palm Beach County, authorizing the mayor to execute and amended disclaimer, which shall be recorded with this ordinance in the public record of Palm Beach County, Florida, provided for an effective date and for all purposes.
All right, thank you. To my colleagues, do you have any questions for staff on this item? If not, we'll turn directly to public comments specifically on item 8D. Is anyone here would like to speak on item 8D? I see no one approaching the podium. I see no one online. With that, public comment on item 8D is now closed. Okay, if there's nothing else from my colleagues, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cruz and a second from Commissioner Hay. Let's proceed. Amelie, let's just do a roll call.
Commissioner Hay?
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin? Yes. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Penserga?
Yes.
And roll call vote, the motion passing unanimously.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. That concludes public hearing. We're now moving on to the regular agenda. We did table a couple of items, but on the list, we still have 10A, 10C, 10E. So we've got 3 items here. 10A is discussion and update on the potential relocation of the Andrews House. Let's turn to our staff. If anybody would like to kick it off, I see Mr. Ramsey.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, and Happy New Year.
Good one. With me, I have Rick.
Oh, the mic.
There we go. Okay, thank you. There we go. With me, I have Rick Hoffer. He came on board with us mid-September. He is our Assistant Public Works Director, and he oversees all of CIP and future planning and executes the projects with construction services underneath his realm. So I'm going to let him go ahead and do his presentation on Andrews House. All right?
Yes, Happy New Year. And Kevin, thank you so much for the introduction, and very happy to be here with the city. Side button. Okay. This is an update on potential relocation sites for the Andrews House. Which one? Okay. Okay, there it goes. What was the trick? I don't know. Okay. Okay. Andrews House is located at 306 Southeast 1st Avenue. Potential relocation sites for the house for preservation purposes have been assessed, and 5 potential sites have been identified. This slide reflects the current location of the Andrews House, as well as 5 potential location sites. We'll take a closer look at each potential relocation site in subsequent slides. And seems to have advanced. I'm not sure why it's advancing. I didn't touch it. Yes. This is good. Okay, before taking a closer look at each potential location, wanted to present budget level probable cost associated with relocating. Budget level cost to move the house is estimated to be between $75K and $150K. Foundation and utilities between $50K and $75K. And estimated total budget for move is $225,000. And it's advanced again. I didn't touch it.
You know, sometimes it's easier if somebody just pushes it on the computer. I don't know if someone can do that. That would, because that remote's always been finicky. It's not you. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Probably because I touched it. You know, I always have a thing with this.
Okay, no, that was a luck toucher. I don't have the ability to advance the slides. I'm just looking at my own.
Just say next, and
Okay,
IT will
got
hear
you.
you.
Okay, we'll do
Yep,
it.
IT, you heard that? Just say next, and you'll say next, and you guys can move the slides.
Next.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. As far as potential locations identified, this is potential location 1, is on Northeast 6th Avenue and Northeast 6th Court, and is currently a small city-owned park. Next slide. Potential location 2 is on Northeast 13th Avenue, adjacent to FEC Railroad. It is currently Palmetto Greens Linear Park, which is a city-owned park. It is noted that use of this site for relocation involves relocating the park itself, and that the potential site for the relocated park is reflected, as indicated, would be Northeast 10th Avenue, as indicated in the figure. Next. Potential location 3 is a CRA-owned lot on North Sequest Boulevard and Northeast 3rd Avenue. Go to the next one. Looking at potential location 4 is a city-owned lot on Northeast 3rd Street and Northeast 9th Avenue. And next. Then location 5, the final location we looked at, is a CRA-owned lot on East Ocean Avenue. Just wanted to note that relocation to the site may require some setback variances. As far as the presentation goes, though, this is the last slide. Staff is ready to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Rick, for that presentation. Let me just kick off by asking, how did you determine those 5 locations? Was there something that you were looking for, criteria, things around it? What was the thought process?
The criteria was we were looking at CRA and city-owned, lots. So that was one of the major criterias that we looked at. I also sat down with planning and zoning, and we looked at the different potential lots. Andrew Mack was involved as well, and also Kevin Ramsey in identifying potential sites. But sat down with planning and zoning and looked at each of these sites, whether they might be feasible based on setback requirements. We don't know the use of the house, but we also looked at zoning, what the existing zoning is. So that was another criteria. Mostly looked at sites that were residential and business zoned. Some were CBD zoned as well. So in short, looked at, the ownership of the property, CRA, city, the ability to fit the structure on the site. Some considerations of, proximity to the house and where it's moved to, but that's why we have the range in the costs for moving. But generally, that's the criteria.
Okay. For the residential locations, I think that assumes that the house would be used as a home in the future. I think that's a fair assumption, right? If you put it next to other single-family homes, it's probably going to be used, or that's the intent, for it to be used as a single-family home. I'm a little bit dubious of that. I don't think that's where it's going to go.
Sure. Understood.
It is extremely expensive already for a small business, let alone a single family, to renovate that. Let me ask about the cost as well. If we could go back to the slide for the cost. When you say foundation and utilities, was there any inclusion of bringing the building to code as part of that calculation? Or is that bare minimum? What was your thought process?
It's pretty much bare minimum. Understanding was that some items were brought up to code. The plumbing was redone, the wiring was redone. I can't confirm that, but that's what was indicated. Certainly, if things are out of code and there's thresholds of When level of renovations are done, everything needs to be brought up to code. So that was not included. That would need to be looked at more in depth, of course.
Okay, and with that, I'll just say that I'm personally leaning towards this being a commercial use or a community use, not residential.
Yep.
And in terms of research, I'm interested in what it would cost to bring to code. Is it staggering? Is it achievable? Because we could move this, and what if no one can use it? Then what have we accomplished, right? So then it's just sitting there doing nothing. So that's why I'm interested in what it would take to bring it up to code. Let's turn to my colleagues for any questions, comments. Commissioner Turkin, I see your hand is up already. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for looking into this. First things first, I think we need to get this thing moved. I agree with the mayor. I think I'm leaning towards more of a city, commercial, or recreational use for the building. But like it was mentioned in public comment earlier, this could be demoed tomorrow. It is not on the city's property right now. It's not dedicated to the city. And so, my thought is, I do like location 5, which is the next to the Magnuson House. I mentioned, at the last meeting of discussion regarding this, that we have an opportunity to do something cool there, I think. If you look in Delray, 10 years ago, Dada's was somewhere, it still is, so it's a little bit of an anchor off of Swinton there, right? And I think, having this next to another historic home is a great opportunity to really activate that area. But again, I think first things first, we need to move the property. And then what I'd like to see if I can get some support from my colleagues is having a public charrettes and get the community involved in what we want to see here, right? But again, if we don't get this thing moved, then this conversation essentially is dead on arrival, because again, there's an open demo permit, and I know the property owner is willing to work with the city, I think even financially, to get this moved. And as I brought up at the last meeting, I think looking at avenues, not just for this situation, but for the future, to allow, a builder or a developer to pay in lieu of an art assessment or a separate assessment for historic preservation is a mechanism we can use to unburden the taxpayers, specifically to a situation like this. So what that use is going to be, I'd like to get more input, but I think we all know we should get this thing moved, if we want to, put our money where our mouth is. So that's where I'm at. I think the anticipation with this was going to cost a lot more, $225,000, especially if we can get the property owner to help mitigate that cost. I think it's a win-win for everyone. But I do agree with you, Mayor. I don't foresee this being residential use.
All right, thank you. Let me hear from our colleagues, and as part of your commentary, if you could also address if you have a preference on those potential locations. You ready, Commissioner?
Yes, I'm all for moving the house. Where is the question? I don't think it would be cost effective to put it in an area where we're gonna use it as a residential piece of property. At the same time, I look at Ocean Avenue, and we've already moved in 2 little houses, and neither one are successful. And here we go with the third one, if we put it next to the Mansion House. So I'm a little concerned there. I would like to see if we have any chance of building up Ocean Avenue the way we would like to see it. I don't think another little house is going to be the way to go. You can tell I'm still thinking about it. I mean, if I had to pick one out of the 5, it would be number 5, which would be next to the Mansion House. But I'm not happy with that, because I just see it as another house is going to sit there. Nobody's going to, we've gone through at least several with both houses. What is that, the Jones house right across the railroad track? And then you got the the Mansion House, and now we're gonna have another, whatever the name goes with that one. So it just concerns me that we just moving a bunch of little houses, which are not large enough to make a decent restaurant to make the kind of profit that I don't think the developers would like to see. So I'm still not there, but if I had to make a choice, it would be next to the Mansion House.
Thank you, Commissioner Hay. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel like we're all kind of on the same page as far as what we think should be the future use of this. My concern, well, first off, I'll say that I know it's semantics, but I feel like if we're going to talk about any location that's owned by the CRA, then we need to have a joint city CRA meeting. We shouldn't be making a decision on it for a totally different board, but I know those are semantics, but I feel like if we're going to consider that, we need to involve, do a joint CRA city meeting to involve staff and to make sure that, the other, that the CRA is not looking at other potential opportunities and that they're on board with any, even considering that. So, I think some of the conversations I've had with staff where I saw the city investing in this property would be, and this is just me telling you conversations I've had with staff, is associating it more with a park and associating, the park rangers, a museum, a welcome center, but in one of our parks. But I know of the 5 locations, there really isn't one that fits that box.
If I may.
You may.
I'm Amanda Radigan, Planning and Development Director. Of the 5 locations, 3 of them were residential. Those 3 were picked as city or CRA owned, and the idea is to kind of cluster cottages in the same type, thinking that one day we could get into like a little historic district, which is residential. The other 2, the Magnuson House, which the public has spoke about, and you all have spoke about as a viable option, and option location number 1 is a city park. And the reason that this one was included, actually someone, I believe from public comment, mentioned it, putting it in a place where it has grounds. This is a very small location. It is a very different scale as the Sample McDougal House, which is in Pompano, but it's the same type of setting. It is in a park, there is a large tree, it is commercially zoned currently, so we could input a small commercial use. It could be used as a facility, either for offices or meeting spaces within location 1 as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about the uses that are permitted in each of these locations. The Magnuson House does have some challenges on that site. It is a very tight site. If it is moved there will have to be either a slew of variances, which is doable. But we would have to look a little bit closer at the dimensions of the site. Visually, what is to the east of the site is actually right-of-way, and there is a pedestrian walkway that is not part of the parcel. If we do a minimum of 10-foot setbacks, there's also separation requirements between buildings that we'd have to take into account. It may be that only a portion of the building actually has 2 portions, the original and then an addition. We looked at maybe just moving the original. All this to say that there are some complications with the Magnuson House, and that would definitely require a deeper look at how it is feasible, and we'd have to talk to both fire and the building official. The other one thing I wanted to say is in discussions on bringing this up to code, that is largely dependent on the use that goes in. The requirements for code, if you are doing a restaurant, are different if it's a residential building. Obviously, we can get some estimates for both ends to get a range. But it would vary. If we don't know the end users, these are ballpark.
And that, Mayor, to your point, when and I made this point when we previously talked about this, we don't want to move it just to move it. We need to move it. We realize that. We know we need to make a decision. But to move it, to just stick it in a place that there's no use for it, my concern is the same as yours with the Magnuson House, and also Commissioner Hay, this house has been sitting vacant, and I know that the CRA had looked at possibly renovating it, and my understanding was that it wasn't financially feasible for them to take on that task, and it has sat empty. We had one potential person interested in the property, not even necessarily the house. And so my concern is that I fear we would move a house to then have kind of the same thing until possibly the downtown then, builds up, and then there's some interest in preserving that and making it, but we're looking at, years down the line. And so in my conversations with staff, it was, what can we use this for that we can put it in a place and we can utilize it now? We can put it on a park property, we can use it as a city facility, we can turn it, restore it, and keep it in its museum state, which is what it had been used for several years, and use it as sort of a park ranger, museum, welcome center kind of thing. That was kind of my conversations with staff, so that it would truly be moved and then activated, as opposed to us just moving it and having it sit until some potential developer down the line wants to be in there, because the Magnuson House has been vacant and open and ready for the CRA to evaluate a letter of intent or some potential person that wanted to come in there. And so those are my concerns. I think we share those similar concerns, but we do understand the need to save this, and I've put that on the record many times, so thank you.
Let me ask a brief question to staff. What is the bare minimum cost to move it to the Magnuson without any improvements or upgrades? And the reason why I'm saying that is, let's just move it to save it, as was echoed by my colleague here, but I don't necessarily want to jump into improvements and changes until we have some clarity on its final location. For all we know, a future commission could decide to move it again, or maybe there you have public charrettes and the public decide they have a different idea for it, and then another idea coalesces and we have to move it again. We just need to move it to save it. What's the bare minimum cost for that? And so that's question number one for me. Question number two is, once we have public input, we already have plenty, but if we're going to have more charrettes, it may be time for the government to be involved in actually fixing up these buildings. We keep talking about moving it to save it, but who can afford to make all these changes? I don't think small business could. I think, I completely agree, but I agree with you, and I don't know who else said it, about having a joint meeting, because having that input and those ideas to shape the future of that is necessary. So we have some long-term trajectory. What is happening with my pronunciation today? Trajectory. In any case, so bare minimum cost to just move it right across the street. That'll buy us some time. Do we have a sense of that cost?
We reached out to a couple organizations that move homes in general. They didn't want to put a lot of time into it because it's not a sole source sort of thing. So we tried to get as much information from them. And basically, all we could do is get a range. One would have to think being closer. There's a lot of variables in this. One would think being the closest option, it would be on the lower range of the 75 to 150K. That's speculation, though, in my part. It just seems that would be the case. But there are a lot of variables that go into it.
Plus, if I could clarify, plus the cost for the foundation and utilities, right?
Yes, and I was just talking about the variable for the moving, so.
So the foundation and utilities, is that something that can wait, or it absolutely must be done at the time of the move?
We need a foundation to put it on. So this is like for the new foundation.
Okay, got it. New foundation.
Yeah.
Not repairs or?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Just to clarify, Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
between 50, the first number, that's just to move the house, and then the other is to place it on the foundation. And the reason the range is because we don't know exactly where, so it's hard for them to give us an exact number. But we're all comfortable with the 225 at any of these 5 locations. So I think we could move the house for that 225 to any of these 5 locations. The one that I would point out to you, number 3, that's the one there. There are some other houses in that Cottage District area. I'm not sure if that particular place could be a commercial zone, is it? That's the one that's next, that CRA owns?
That's a R2.
It's R2?
Residential
Okay.
zoned.
So that would be residentially zoned. The other park we looked at, one of the things that we're looking for, we currently have the park rangers, as well as some of the NOP officers that are working out of the Oyer building. That's on the 115 site. They have a year left on their lease. This could be a potential location that we could move that group, that ranger group. That's why one of the park locations were picked, because it could be in the park where they could then use it and then monitor and then have a home base of operations. One of the places we were looking to move the rangers was Oyer, but because now we're moving to fireboats and stuff there, we're gonna have to punt on that one.
Okay, very interesting. And one more thought, then I'll go back to my colleagues. Amanda, maybe we can sit down later, and Rick, but what are other cities, what's their game plan, right? I always say we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think you had briefly mentioned, was it Pompano? Did you say Pompano earlier?
Yeah,
How
so-
did they, make it work? What's their strategy?
Yeah, Pompano, the Sample McDougal House, it's a very different scenario. It is on a large park, and it is a mansion. It is a large building. I mean, mansion's a big word, but in terms of historic buildings, it is considered a mansion. It is a 2-story facility, and they use it as an event space. So it is an economic driver there. It is a beautiful facility. The city hosts events there regularly. But, so this is at a different scale, but taking how that is working for the public and kind of reducing the scale a bit for this, this building and some of the park sites that we have, I mean, I think it could still work really well. This site 3 that we were just talking about, it is zoned residential, but there are some creative solutions that we could allow some, what would be considered like home-based businesses for historic buildings specifically. It is on the edge of a community, so there are some code amendments we could do to help utilize some historic buildings. There are options, and I don't know what comes first. It's either picking a location or picking the use and the end user. There are a lot of variables.
Understood. So we were going down the dais, Commissioner Cruz, and when you make your comments, Commissioner, include your recommendation for location and if you're open to the idea of having a joint meeting, so we can establish consensus.
Yes, I am open to having a joint meeting. Yes, I am in favor of moving the house and saving the house. I think that something I think you one of you mentioned, I think it was the mayor, looking at the possibility of finding out how much it would cost to bring it up to code. We could continue to ask. I mean, we could talk here for 10 hours about this, right? But I think the purpose is really finding out first what we're going to use it for, and I think that something that's feasible and hopefully not too difficult would be to kind of maintain its original state, something sort of like a museum. So I think that maybe finding the purpose first and then finding the location, so we're not putting something like this in like it was said earlier, in a residential neighborhood. I would support having a public purpose, such as a museum or any other similarly linked purpose that's commercial.
Of the locations that were shown today, then location 1 would be the most feasible for a public use, because that is within a park. It
I'm
is
sorry, which
commercially
one
zoned.
was, which,
Could we change the slide to location?
was that on the
1,
corner
please?
of the,
Yes, it was on the corner of Northeast 6th Avenue and Northeast 6th Court.
And we can provide some more, or I don't even know if there's we're not controlling it,
So-
to show some pictures of what this park actually looks like. There was just some investment in it. It is beautifully soldered. There is a really big tree in the center of it. There are walkways along the sides of it, and it's really not used for much. It's kind of a passive park right now.
And it's owned by
The city.
the city, okay.
I remembered that spot now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I want to take, you guys' recommendations as well into consideration, as well as the public's recommendations. I did receive an email about the potential of moving it to the Magnuson House. I'm not opposed to that. I would consider that as well. But then, as the consultant stated, we have to look at setbacks. So I think first, let's figure out what it's gonna be, and let's do it right the first time. So we're not just moving it for the sake of moving it, but doing it so that we're being fiscally responsible to move it one time within this body, one time only, and finding the right purpose for it, and making it, as soon as we can.
All right, thank you. We're going to go back around the dais with Commissioner Turkin, but let me just remind everybody, we do have a CRA meeting next week, if I'm not mistaken. And with that, if there's consensus to have a joint meeting, so we don't have to wait so long, maybe something before that or the day before or after. So just throwing that out there. Commissioner Turkin, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I brought up the joint meeting when we had initially discussed this, but I don't know if staff didn't reach out to the CRA to try to coordinate that. We did have consensus. So, we'll talk about that offline, if I may. The fallacy that those historic homes haven't been utilized, it is a fallacy, I apologize. The Jones House is a very nice restaurant, Nicholson Muir, if that is the Jones House, right across the tracks. I highly recommend everyone check it out. James Muir is actually a Boynton resident as well, who is an award-winning chef, and actually, as we speak, they're nominated for one of the best steaks in Palm Beach County, right? And then I want to remind my colleagues that this body had also looked into doing a public-private partnership with the Magnuson House, and then to no fault of our own, that was and I don't think any fault to, the private entity, economically, it didn't work. Interest rates were super high, and it just didn't happen. So I think the notion of houses just sitting there, I don't think that's a reality. And we've seen, Nicholson Muir is a prime example, opened a restaurant at the tail end of COVID. A lot of people who did that did not succeed. And this individual was able to do that and then wasn't doing well, reconstructed and did whatever every good business owner, does is survive, right? And now we're talking about an award-winning restaurant that's driving people to Boynton Beach from not just Palm Beach County, but from really all of South Florida, and it's so unique. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend you go check it out. It is a great place, local business, resident of this city. And so I think there's opportunity there. I'm going to stand firm with my position, but I do want to remind us that there is a historical context that historical preservation homes can be utilized for commercial use, and there is precedent that it has been successful on Ocean Avenue. And so I just want to remind us, in case we forgot, that there is success stories here that show, it can be done. And, and listen, I'm not the biggest art guy or historic preservation guy, but, I go to a place like Nicholson Muir's and I'm like, wow, I'm like super impressed. You know what I mean? And so, Dada's too, like a lot of those places we don't see anymore. What we see is a bunch of concrete block buildings. And, for me, someone who walks the Ocean Avenue, I'd like to see something there. I think you can have best of both worlds. You could have a museum welcome center, a park ranger station. I'm not going to go drive as a tourist. I'm not going to go drive to a residential neighborhood to go to a welcome center. I want to be able to call the circuit, call an Uber, or drive and park, go walk at the welcome center, go have a cocktail, then go get dinner. You know what I mean? Like the gentleman mentioned earlier, 4 hours. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go and drive out of the way to a welcome center. I want to go to where the core is of the city I'm visiting in, and I think that core is Ocean Avenue. If you look at all the properties, almost every single lot, is empty lot, I should say, is in for permitting, right? It's basically built up, until there's acquisitions for some of those smaller condos north and south of Ocean Avenue, those 2-story ones. The downtown's essentially built, and so I think this is a great opportunity to establish an anchor, and that's where I stand, and it's been done before, it's successful, and that's where I'm at. Thanks.
Thank you. No disagreement, Commissioner. the key ingredient here really is CRA support, taking that building and making it possible for a small business to go in there. So that's why I think we should proceed with the joint meeting, because the city can't do it alone. It can absolutely happen, but we need to make it feasible for a small business, for example, to make it realistic.
If I could also add, some of
Yes.
the historic properties that we're talking about, the Sample McDougal House, Dada's, and the Magnuson House, on several proposals that we've seen in the Magnuson House, all took advantage of outside space as well. Some of these structures are very small, and things like restaurants, the latest proposal for the Magnuson House was a restaurant, but they utilized almost the entirety of the site to activate the house and the site. Which is one of the reasons Magnuson House may be a viable option, but by putting both of them on that property, we may limit some of those uses just based on the size of the homes themselves. Just something to think about. Whereas, location one, another viable option, we would leave room for the Magnuson House to be redeveloped, and in location one, this again is zoned commercial. It could be a public use, or it could be some sort of restaurant at this site as well. And different options, I think both can work. It really does depend. If we are leaning towards offices or a museum, I think option one would work really well. If we are leaning towards a welcome center, without knowing the use of the Magnuson House, Ocean might be perfect for it, to have a welcome center on the walking strip of Ocean. I agree. I think once we narrow down the use, the location is easier to follow.
All right, do we have consensus to proceed with the joint city CRA meeting? All right, and so you want to chime in, council?
Okay, so I was just reviewing, we could make it on the same day as the CRA meeting and actually do the joint meeting, then do the CRA meeting, and then any further discussion regarding it can then be carried over to the city commission meeting on the 21st.
I'm comfortable with that. So that's, the CRA meeting would be next Tuesday.
And we
We'll
would
have
do
the
a joint
one
meeting,
first.
correct.
Okay.
And then you can continue. I think if we merge all three into one day, it's going to be a very long night. So we'll just then carry it over.
All right. What do my colleagues think about that suggestion? I'm okay with that.
Doable
I'm
for
okay with
staff?
that.
Is that doable for staff? For the 21st?
For
14th.
Tuesday. for
Next Tuesday, joint meeting next Tuesday?
14th.
I
But
will
it
say the
starts on the
CRA
6th.
did put out, it did notice its meeting already. So maybe it would be better to have them to come in on January 21. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, so
With notice issues, we'd just have to read.
So in terms of notice issues, why don't both of you work with each other?
Okay.
On that? But the board doesn't seem to have any objection with doing it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Just for exploring possibilities, would my colleagues be open to starting at 5 with the joint meeting? No, you can't do 5. Okay.
5:30?
5:30 is the,
5:30.
What about you, Commissioner? If it's too
I
tight?
don't have anyone that walks my dog. I have to run from work, go home, feed my
All
dog,
right,
walk
we'll-
him, and then come to the
We'll leave it at
meeting.
6. I'm just
Health.
asking, just in
I don't have
case
health.
there's conflict with the noticing concerns.
Sorry.
no, you're
No, it's-
fine.
It's fine. We love our four-legged friends, so not a problem. Okay, so
Toby.
council, please just get back to us, city manager, what CRA staff says. We seem to be comfortable either way,
Thank you.
okay?
I do have one question.
Yes.
I know we have an industrial district. Does Boynton Beach have a historical district that we consider historical, that we could move into or start developing such a district?
So a designated historical district, no. However, there are some, I'll call self-designated historic districts. There are clusters of cottages that would be eligible for historic districts. There have been a couple of votes in some of the neighborhoods that were just shy of designation. To designate as a historical district, there does have to be a vote of the homeowners. So we have gotten close to a couple, but we do not have any formally designated historic districts.
Because I do know one on, what is that, 12th Avenue, and we just made that the Meats House, Dr. Martha Meats Lights.
That site was designated. Yes, there are several locally designated sites, however, not a district.
Right. I'm just thinking, I agree with, we need to probably, well, we're gonna discuss it next week or whatever. But, you know, we're trying to build our city up with modern-looking buildings, and I would hate to have that particular building on US 1, you know, representing our city, unless we have some really great fix-up, make it a fix-up project.
It is actually right off of Federal. What we will do for the joint meeting is we'll include some street view images and take some photos just to show a little bit more its location and where the house, we think the house could sit on location 1. And we will also, since the Magston House is the other front runner, we'll look a little bit more into a site plan spatially, the spatial context of the Magston House site and what can fit. And we'll have preliminary conversations with the fire department and building as well.
Okay, thank you. That's it,
Yeah.
ma'am.
All right, thank you. Anything else from my colleagues? All right, so staff, get back to us about the joint meeting next week. All right, thank you. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is a project update on the Eco Park. Thank you, Kevin. The Eco Park is on Quantum Boulevard. If you have not been there, I strongly recommend that you go take a visit. It will be a wonderful walk.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, good evening again. Kevin Ramsey, Public Works Director. I'm here to report an update on Eco Park. And here it comes. All right. Hope this works.
We may have given up on the clicker. Oh,
Too many. There we go.
whatever you did, there we go.
There we go. All right. So the original design of Eco Park was estimated much higher than the $870,000 budgeted. So the consultants revised the drawings, reduced the scope of work to best fit their estimate of $870,000. On 8/7/23, the city went out for bids, put it out for bid. On September 19th, the bids came back in. The tabulations of bids was given to Construction Services on October 3rd. The bids were much higher even then, with the estimated about $562,000 higher than what was planned for. Public Works Director and Recreation Directors were finalizing the previous year's CIP to find funds to offset this cost. And as we all know, beginning of the year is a bunch of financial turmoil. On 12/13, finance emails the lowest bidder asking if they will still honor their price. And on the 19th of December, they asked for a meeting. That pushed them at the 90 days. The more you look at the dates, the more you see what happened. So we had a face-to-face meeting with them on the 21st, and on the 2nd of January, they declined to do the project for the set price. From that day, we came to the commission, asked for direction on what to do, and you said to go back, reduce that scope to fit with, as best we can to 870, and submit back to the grantor. We did that on November 20th of this year, and we're awaiting an answer right now to see if they'll approve it or not, okay? I'm not flipping my switch, I'm sorry, guys. This is a revised scope.
Kevin, do you know, is there a time frame for that, for them to respond back to us typically?
I do not know.
Okay.
We've been having some time with some grantors lately. As of late, we're at their beck and call. And so the funding is still there for the project. We're just waiting for that answer back, and then we can go back and clarify these with we did this with our in-house architect, the design to save some money to get it out to him. And if they do approve it, we'll go back to our designers of record and have them tweak this the way it is. Hopefully.
Thank you. I was just kind of wondering if there was a potential timeline.
In order to save the money, we're going back to the original trails of this park, to rehash them, to get them up to par and come in. We're putting in split rail fencing, chain link fencing, and for the 870, this is what we're thinking that we can get done, okay? Part of getting this grant is to have ADA accessible means. So to go around that and to accommodate that, that's the fencing we're gonna be doing. And we have these wheelchairs at the beach. We are planning to have a little station where we can have these things accessible and where they can call our rangers and we can come out there and help them unlock. We haven't quite figured out the mechanism of that. That way we can accommodate ADA and have this park back opened up, okay? And these things are everywhere. Any questions? We're really at the beck and call of the grantor at this point, you know, then we can move forward. That's where we're at.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
I'm looking forward, obviously, to this being completed. I've been there since many, many years ago for this, just still waiting. Still waiting. Thank you so much. Anything from my colleagues on this? Any questions for Kevin? All right, let's proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation and status update on the Beautification and Streets Division in the Public Works Department. Kevin.
I'm here. Okay, beautification and streets. This is our newly open division that we have created. I've gotten the go-ahead from commission to do, and we are doing our best to start this new process. Our goal is to enhance the beauty of the city as we work to provide clean, safe streets, sidewalks, right-of-ways, medians, and city-owned properties with the involvement of our residents, city officials, and organizations to establish a rapport that addresses common issues and concerns. October 6th, we began recruiting the 4 additional employees. See? I do that every time. One more time, and we'll be on track. Okay, December 6th, began recruiting our 4 staff. December 2nd, we hired the first 2. December 16th, we hired the second 2. All along the way, from the time we were given the okay, we started creating maintenance schedules. How could we work this? What could we do? What's the main concerns? Assessing street and sidewalk maintenance issues citywide, addressing work orders, assisting Drive Safe Boynton. That's part of our fold with our streets part of this. Overseeing contractual vendors, which is almost $800,000 worth of stuff, and daily logs for review to monitor and put a weight to this to see what we're doing, what we can do, and what we can do better. Current tasks, real quick. Median landscape, irrigation, right-of-ways are completed by vendors. We do have additional service for the medians, which are tree trimming, which is $95,000 a year, and median pressure washing, which the commission, we have local vendors doing that this time around. Right now, we're looking for the medians to be completed around February. Sidewalks, continue with the current task. Sidewalks along right-of-ways, vegetation trimming and edging. Once we got into it and started focusing, we were like, oh my God, you know, we really need some uplifting here, you know? So the more we're doing it, the more we're seeing, and then now we're expanding what we can do, but it's like when you have a yard, you gotta pick up all the trash up before you start making it beautiful, right? So that's where we are right now today. Current task, median pressure washing, 98% complete, 100% by end of February, and one more time. There we had these pictures here shows the contractors are doing a great job out there, and it's making a massive impact. We're not quite done yet, but it's exciting to see that actually take place. It was just dingy, and it's not Boynton Beach. Litter control is one of our biggest things that we're finding, and overgrowth. Where am I? I'm telling you, these clickers are not my friend. Median litter, that's one of our biggest things we have out there. We have, it's on contract to have that done, but every morning our staff, we run the city with 2 separate crews, and we hit litter control. All the main roads right now. We're starting to expand into some neighborhood areas, but the main concern is overpasses, federal, the main thoroughfares, Woolbright, Congress, every morning and every afternoon. Sidewalks. We're on sidewalks right now. Currently, we started working the sidewalks just before Thanksgiving. To date, we have completed Lawrence Road, Gateway Boulevard, and Seacrest Boulevard. We are currently on Federal Highway, and then we'll go to Boynton Beach Boulevard, then to Woolbright, and then to Congress last. Completed all by the end of February is our projected time of being completed. We also oversee the street sweeping. We've been doing that for a little while. Every year, we do 130 miles, as you know. We do 10 extra miles. And the extra 10 miles that we're going into neighborhoods, or maybe it's a parking lot. On December 12th, we hit Gulfview Harbor, is the last one we did, and right now they're gonna be back there again next week. We're just under 11 tons of debris was picked up in just December alone. I'm trying to figure out a way of making us to measure the weight of our trash that we pick up with our staff to compare it to that. So there's some videos on it. It's super awesome. Let's go there. All right. Adopt a Road program. Gotta laugh, it's getting late. This was initiated on November 1st, and we're awaiting applications. However, our marketing department, Barbara and Danny, have done a great job. We've had 14,000 views on the city website, 11.3 thousand views on Facebook, 7,400 plus views on YouTube, and it's been delivered twice in the city's newsletter, reaching 20,000 subscribers each time. So it is out there. We are ready for it. We're just waiting for some people to clean up our streets. Monitor and streetlights. This is, we have FPL lights and we have city-owned lights. We run these, we inventory these, and we report back to FPL. We have started going on a 2-week rotation instead of a once-a-month rotation to get caught back up to where we're at. We will get with Danny and Barbara again and have them reach out to the public and give them the public FPL's contact information. They too can call on these numbers if they want to. Or they can call us, we'll have that on the website as well. In-house tasks and activities, minor road repairs, street sign repairs, litter control, pressure washing. We do a pressure washing ourselves. Right now we're on Minor Road going from Congress Avenue toward High Ridge, and we have a contractor starting from Congress going to Lawrence. So we're working on that right now, so that will be completed as well by the end of February.
Kevin, real quick, so, and this was something that I brought up when we started the sidewalk pressure washing. Are we, or our vendors, notifying us of sidewalk issues? And in particular, because we have staff, and Andrew in particular, has been fighting with the county to make repairs on Minor, in particular between Lawrence and Congress. So I want to make sure that as our vendors are doing this pressure washing, that if there are concerns that need to be addressed, that we're getting the message back so that we can then address it either in-house, if it's our responsibility, or that we are then, through the beautification team, notifying the county and notifying them again and again and again
I just
until
get through a few
they
more
start
slides.
putting cones up. Okay.
You're reading my mind.
Okay, good.
Because I remember them saying, no, they're not going to share the cost of pressure washing our sidewalks, which is their sidewalks and their roads, so.
But they can fix it.
Well, that's right, they are going to, and every sign and every street paving marking on their roads. So we're going to get to that in a second. So
Thank you.
as we're going through and we're driving, I've been involved with it heavily too, to try to get this off the ground. Where am I at? Streetlights. Minor reports, okay. We do these items here. There's some pictures of some guys doing some signs. We did the Oyer Fish and Pier sign, dock sign rather, monument signs, street signs. But back to Palm Beach County. We pressure wash in-house and speed hump installation. Sometimes those are emergencies, we have to do some, and we do work with Drive Safe Boynton. We work with them hand in hand with applications, and that's going to expand in the future. I can see that happening now. But truly, graffiti, we take care of graffiti. We're on that already today. But beautification of streets, graffiti control, sidewalk control. Yes. This was another video. Sorry, guys. Proof they're working. All right. Sidewalk repair. Okay.
They are.
All right. Sidewalk repair. We do sidewalk repair if they're ours, and we do report it to Palm Beach County on a one-off. But in assessing the city and rolling through this city, hundreds of miles from intersections of lines, pavement markings, signage that are faded. We did this once before 3 years ago. We went down Seacrest and every sign that was faded, we'd had to do the inventory, so we had a little bit of skin in the game. So we did the inventory and we passed it on to Palm Beach County, and they fixed every sign from High Pluxo all the way down to Gulfstream Boulevard. So this does work. So part of the plan, and let me get through this slide here. You know, when someone tells you no and they want to share in the cost of fixing their stuff, it makes me, you know, why should our citizens pay for everything when it's their sidewalk? So we're going to make it fair. We are going to go through and stop here. We're assessing every sidewalk, every sign on every FDOT, Palm Beach County road, and we're making an inventory. It's going to take us until the end of February to get this whole packet, pictures, locations. It's already, the location segment's already laid out. The inventory started already. And once we have this package together, we're going to send it to FDOT in Palm Beach County for not only signage and cracked sidewalks and damaged curves, but also faded markings on our roads. Their roads, but our city, okay? Turning lanes, crosswalks. Let me show you one here. There. That's what I'm talking about right there. That was last year, and this is this year once we did the Boynton Beach extension. But you can see the difference in the pedestrian crosswalks, the turning arrows and all that. And that too, we have clean sidewalks, clean medians, and that's gonna bolster, it's gonna pop our roads. And then we'll go back into like, there's roads like Gulf Road, going towards Seacrest. There's hardly no lines on there at all. It's bumpy and lumpy. So as we do our paving on our roads, we should then go one more further step and have them, hey, when are you doing this road? And then we go back into the drainage of Palm Beach County roads and FDOT drainage. We'll take care of our drainage. We have one major road with drainage. It's called Gateway Boulevard. Theirs is every other road we talk about. We spend $160,000 a year sweeping Palm Beach County roads in our city, okay? We spend $480,000 taking care of medians in our city, but they're medians. So there's where we're heading with this. First, I want to clean up the city, trash, overgrown burdens, and maybe we can change the mindset of people going through our city throwing trash, and be prideful of their clean roads. Last one. Oh, one more thing. I-95 DOT. We're using all of our tools. I'm flying drones over every intersection to get these pictures. I'm flying drones over every I-95 interchange and making documents and reports. And we're going to put it to them. And I've noticed that once you let them know there's an issue, they address them because now they're liable, right? So that's our avenue of attack, okay? So it's going to take a little bit of time, but we've hired 4 good people that are absolutely owning their positions. We have great staff. We're still developing a division director person, but that's not going to stop us from going forward and creating this. So last 6 months, this is a good one here. This is the last one I got to talk about. We're going to establish, like we just talked about, county, state, sidewalk striping, what we just talked about, develop beautification median standards, because we've also noticed that you may have 6 or 7 different species which require different fertilizations for different parts of the year, different watering. Makes no sense. And I think that if we're smart about it, we can reduce, still beautify, but reduce our efficiencies in maintaining these islands. All right, I mean, we have dead palm trees and medians. You'll see a bunch of yellow flags here over the next 7 days, and that's locating all of our dead trees, and I'll be put on notice to get them replaced, or at least taken out right now, out of sight, out of mind, until we come up with this great idea of what we are actually, a standardized median would be a great thing, I think, to do. And then we're going to establish outreach to the public meetings. Because by March, April, we should have a pretty good looking city with now it's time to bring in the public, in my opinion. We can do it earlier, but we're overwhelmed right now. If we could go to like April, then start outreach meetings, public meetings with our public. What would you like to see? And maybe corridors, or I don't know how that's going to work at. All right, so that's where we're at. That's my presentation. Any questions?
Kevin?
Yes, sir.
I'm a little bit speechless. But I just want to say, I like you. Keep taking pictures, keep documenting, keep talking about standards. You want to be able to hold these vendors accountable, obviously. You're doing a great job. You're on the right track. To all of our staff, thank you for doing this. I think we still have a long way to go, but this is great.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely. And but clearly, I mean, from what I can tell, you're doing the right things. You're headed in the right direction. A couple of just brief questions for now, and we can have another conversation another time. When it comes to littering, are you noticing patterns? Are you noticing these particular areas always keep getting littered, or it's these particular causes over and over again? Is there something that we can do about the littering? Because the assumption is that it's always just random, and it's not always random.
It's not, and I've noticed one area is like just north on Federal, just north of Woolbright. There's, I don't know, by the PNC Bank and by Riviera Drive, there's always something right there. That's one thing. As we get into deeper, we're gonna find more. And also over in I-95, you know, I don't know if the light stays too long, and people are throwing their stuff out, you know. I don't know. I remember growing up, and there's one city, if a city looks beautiful, you don't want to, you feel bad trying to put, you know, throw out a cigarette or a can of soda or something, you know what I mean?
Right, it's out of place.
It's out of place, and like, oh, this is too nice, this is too pristine to do that. Man, they take care of this, you know? It comes that, and maybe it's, I don't know.
So yeah, just keep that part of your conversations with your team. You know, what are some things that we can tackle if there are recurring issues with litter? I'm sure we can take care of that as well. I heard you talk about the medians and their standards. I couldn't agree with you more. I've been talking about that for a while. About the lights, where are we on the bridges? I've discussed this before in the past, and Andrew, you and I have spoken about it as well. I know, for example, this Ocean Avenue Bridge isn't entirely our jurisdiction, right? So we're gonna have to work with multiple people. Because we also want to beautify these areas. I know you've gotten a lot on your plate, one thing at a time, but just something that make sure it's on your radar, because these are the entryways, right? This is like terrible for first impressions if the lights are busted on our bridge facing our marina. It's not a good look. And anywhere in general when we enter our city, the exits of highways. I know that, I think Vice Mayor, we had discussed this at some point. I don't know what happened exactly, but somebody took care of it. Thank you to staff, whoever exactly took care of it. But, you know, maybe it's not ours, right? It's FDOT's. And those medians on the highway exits, I don't know what was happening, but it was awful. I mean, it's like someone intentionally just like littered it with bags and bags of garbage everywhere. So thank you for handling that. But just, you know, entryways, first impressions are really important, because that's what people will remember, obviously. So many things to say, but let's keep going. Let's hear from my colleagues. Let's begin on my left. Commissioner Turkin, any questions or comments?
No, Kevin, the city's lucky to have you and your team. I mean, we heard it earlier in public comment. The woman who was talking about Seacrest, trash being picked up, we're already seeing the results of this. And, you know, just thank you for everything you guys do. You're very quick to respond, very quick to take action. And, you know, I saw emails from residents, very thankful, you know, emailing, you know, you, myself, city manager, right away, you know, when you guys take action, right? And, you know, I don't think you get as much credit as you should, because your department, yeah, specifically this is so front-facing. This is what people see each and every single day. They don't see the 90% of all the awesome stuff we're doing, you know. This is what they wake up and see, and so I think this is amazing. And, you know, I'd like to see this update maybe quarterly, kind of like economic development and some of our other departments. But, you know, thank you for everything. Marina Village, pressure washing, that stuff. I mean, this is amazing. So thank you for everything you do.
Well, good test for us, you know, so.
Commissioner Hay?
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. I do have a couple of questions. On the Adopt a Road program, is this for organizations, or how does that work in terms of who can adopt?
Anyone can adopt a road, yeah.
What does the city supply in terms of material to help them to maintain that street?
Sure. So first they get a sign for free, and their sign's free. They get buckets. We have staff that come out there whenever they schedule their day. Our staff would come out there with the buckets, the grabbers, the gloves, the glasses, and the vest. We take the back of the vest, the gloves they keep, and the grabbers in the bucket. So it'll be I'm gonna be here on this day at 9 o'clock. I have a group of 10. The city brings out the material to have them pick up in the bags as well. And then we'll come back and take it away after they're done, except for the gloves. They keep the
Is
gloves.
there a cost to the organization?
No.
Good to hear. I had a fraternity group, the Omegas, which I talked to the deputy city manager about sometime. They wanted to adopt MLK, I think it was, and they wanted some kind of a signage to that effect, that they were maintaining that. And something happened and that kind of fell apart, did it not? Because they didn't want to pay or something, or there was some kind of charge, or what was the deal there?
The only charge is the second year, it costs $100. The $200 initiation fee, the sign is free, and I think I know who you're talking about, because they were the very first one, right? The very first one, and they weren't happy with that, and so they didn't want to do it.
They weren't happy because in the city of Del Rey, they have the same similar program and they don't have to pay anything. That's my understanding. So I didn't have a comeback for that, so
Okay, well, I was just following the rules that we have set forward, but
Being that we've seen not that much participation, we could look at the fees again and bring them back to you and see if that's something that, for $100, we don't want to lose Omega Psi Phi from being on Ocean, M. Martin Luther King Avenue Boulevard. So, I mean, that's something that we'll reach out, meet with Kevin, and we'll look at that.
So are we handling our adopt a road differently than the other cities?
I don't think we're handling it differently. There are some costs that some cities do charge, some don't, so it just depends on where you're at, what city. I can tell you that a lot of the roads that we have are, because they're county and DOT roads, they will not let us put our signs on them. So they are very limited. So MLK will be great. We'd love to see that one stood up right away, because that'd be an initial project that we could get done and tout it. So something we'll reach out to Howard, Mr. Brown, and recircle with that.
Okay. Speaking of MLK and your street sweepers,
yes.
Do they go down MLK from Seacrest to US 1?
They do not, but they will.
And why is that?
Because we had a set schedule, set map, set route, but we do have an extra 10 miles a month, which we can put that on there as just when they hit federal, they'll go ahead and just do that as well. That's okay. We can adjust this.
We also had vendors that did trash runs on MLK as well. I think even the CRA at one time was paying for it as well. So we can look at that as well.
Please, I would like for that to happen.
Yeah, I'd love to have the comments, that way I can adjust and adjust and move and go.
That is one of the main thoroughways in the heart of Boynton, is MLK.
Okay.
And even if you didn't go from I-95 to US 1, I certainly would like to see Seacrest to US 1. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Commissioner Hay. Just really quickly, Kevin, don't forget to look at the Quantum Corporate Park as well. The Quantum Corporate Park has a sign that nobody can see, all right? It's completely covered in shrubs and whatever other vegetations there are. Getting off the gateway exit, going west, did you know we have beautiful bodies of water, but nobody can see them, completely shrouded. If you've ever been to, what's that, New Mexico, Alu, right? It's beautiful out there, with the water. So something to just think in the back of your mind, okay? All right, that's it from me. We'll have a further conversation later. Thank you so much. Anything from you, Commissioner Cruz?
No, I want to commend, first of all, this body. I think, Mayor, I remember that was something that you brought up, and I think the entire commission as a whole supported that idea.
Yes, absolutely.
Then, city
Team effort.
manager, you took that on and you helped implement it, and you really pushed that forward, Andrew as well. So this is just so beautiful to see how we actually worked on this together as a team, and also to your team. You guys do the real hard work, so Thank you all so much for that. And I know it's overwhelming. We have a huge city and you have 4 staff, but we appreciate you so much for everything you do. And also management to making sure that things are getting done. We definitely appreciate that. Thank you.
Kevin, just continue to document so we don't miss areas or we can hold people accountable. If there are particular groups of people or organizations or whatever the case may be that's causing these problems over and over again, keep a record, let's address it.
We are constantly talking to community standards right now about privacy walls that are damaged. As we go through, we're seeing it a lot more. When you slow down and focus, it's just everywhere, so.
Excellent. Anything else from my colleagues? With that, may I have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. 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 Have a good night, everyone, and thank you to all of our audience members as well as our staff.